On today's episode of Let's Take FGO, Sugar Plum Nutcracker Christmas coming. Also, to prepare you, we're going to have your first little bit of your Lostbelt 7 pregame. Get ready for things to get wacky and wild. I'm one of your hosts, and I could make a joke about which one I am, but I'm Omega. I don't want to be the Sugar Plum Fairy or the Nutcracker. I'm sick, okay? I'm fighting on. With me, as always, Lucky. And I'm sure he remembers every single character in the Nutcracker play and can pick his own cover story. You just make sure to ask him about it.
I should be the Rat King. And you should just be the Nutcracker.
Listen, Lucky, I've been on the internet long enough. I don't know if I want to call myself the Nutcracker.
All right, fine.
God, sorry. I did that inhale and it was scratchy enough to show up on Audacity. Hi, hello, welcome back to Let's Take FGO. The day after the Video Game Awards, we're like a week and a half before, a little under 2 weeks. Just under 2 weeks to Christmas.
Yeah.
We're vibing. And possibly, about 10-ish days from the Lostbelt 7 drop, if the social media campaign news is to be believed.
To be believed. So, with that, though, I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Ground Order, a.k.a. Sugar Plum Fairies Dancing. And while we here at Studio Mega like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events with the JP and DNA version of the game, so anyone not wanting spoilers should be getting ready for a South American Christmas.
True.
Feliz Navidad, baby.
But, and puts us on the lovely trail of Let's Take FGO, brought to you by our wonderful listeners all across the globe. We'll give a shout out to our patrons especially later, but you could be listening to this on Patreon, live. Well, through a Discord, but if you're a high-level patron, you get to do it. We have a patron chat. Anybody can access the patron chat at any level of Patreon, by the way. If you did, you too could see this beautiful image of I'm fighting my demons, and they are winning. Best incentive in a while. But yes, as I alluded to in the intro chat, I'm a little sick. I'm not super bad. I'm hopeful that it's just a very mild, head or chest something. It is the season after all. I know my father was sick earlier in the week, and he seemed to be mostly better after a couple of days, so I'm hoping it's just something mild. And it's not going to interrupt our weekend plans. Unlike, I'm pretty sure that was rain that got interrupted, though it could have been Singularity War, when I got what I'm reasonably certain was a round of COVID earlier this year.
Oh.
That was the Lava Bones incident.
Ah, yes, Lava Bones.
That definitely interrupted one of our weekend gaming sessions. I just don't remember which campaign it was.
We've been playing Rain for like 20-something. I guess it's like half a year now.
Yeah, so not sure. But yes, well, I'll make sure to keep my ibuprofens open and stuff for Sunday. But I have had a very busy week, so we have not yet started moving forward on the next Lostbelt 6 comp. Still in the pre-prep. But I did get some feedback from people, actually, when I talked about it. It took a while for the comments to come in, but people did see the video and comment. So it sounds like, as that will probably be the more straightforward way to make the video and audio compilation, you're going to get one big blob of audio. Hopefully by Christmas. But, I'll have to wrestle with a few things, so there's no guarantees. But that should keep on keeping on, and there's plenty of other things to talk about.
Yes.
That seems like enough preamble that we can check in with everybody's favorite Kohai, Mesh.
Senpai, 起きてください.
That's because it's time for Break Up Second by our regular Pro Tips, which we do at the front of the show to remind you of things that are upcoming you may want to be aware of before you zone out. But also have to do far enough into the show that YouTube doesn't get mad that I say fuck. But remember, chat, you want to throw a few fucks in there just to make sure that YouTube doesn't think that your video's for kids, because that's worse than getting limited ads the other way. So, some of you may not get my pointed commentary I'm about to make for our pro tip today, but others of you will get it loud and clear. Hey everybody, it's Omega here. General advice. You hear about a bug or an exploit for currency, a normally premium resource in a video game. Don't do it. Stop it. Get some help. Because as far as the process of using the game goes, you're gonna be in the wrong, and if you get smacked, it's gonna be your own damn fault. Play it cool, and, at least for FGO anyway, if you don't do anything, you'll be heads up when they fix it, because they will inevitably compensate people for the inconvenience of there being a bug and the required maintenance, which in this case was 18 hours. So, that means that you don't got to worry about other stuff coming down the line. And like I said, if you don't got the full version of this story, I have an explanation later in my show notes. But there was a currency bug in JP that could rack up very high, and some people did rack it up very high, and if they racked up a shitload of Saint Courts through this and they posted about it on Twitter, they may end up worse for the wear. It's not worth it. You might think it's worth it. It's not worth it. And that's our pro tip. No records or evils this week on account of it just being the Christmas rerun, the Carnimus rerun, which is still ongoing for a little bit longer. Kind of curious what they're going to do to fill a little bit of time there, but I guess they're going to give you time to make sure you're caught up on the stuff you need for LB7.
Yeah.
But that does mean that we can talk about, did you finish your master missions? Probably. They're very straightforward this week. You need to defeat 15 each of Heaven and Earth attribute enemies, and then you need to get 50 of each of the 3 event drops for Carnimus. Sorry. Cool Gum, Saint Bar, and Holy Banana. And then put a saber in your party 5 times. That's it.
Woo!
Should be pretty straightforward.
Easy peasy, carna squeezy.
Until we do with the Cool Gum.
Sorry, I just said squeezy and I thought about fucking Rat Shaker. I shouldn't have watched that video. Now it just lives in my head.
Probably not, because it's a weird, fucked up game. But I was like, it is one of those things. Complete tangent before we get into Scalograms. But this is one of those things that's always so funny about, like, small reference circles. Like, obviously, I heard about this Rat Shaker game because I am subbed to Markiplier on YouTube and I, like, follow a couple of streamers on Twitter. So I saw some videos and clips, and then Markiplier posted his playthrough, you know, and I watched it, and I'm like, Rat Shaker, yes. A decent number of people, you know, in our friend circles, in our Discord, don't do that, so, you know, are surprised when Rat Shaker comes up. I didn't realize, and yeah, I'll start a little bit of beef because it'll be funny. I didn't realize so many VTubers were too broke to afford a PS5 because there were a shocking amount of literally who's when Astrobot won Game of the Year, and I gotta be like, where the fuck have you been? This game came out to a like top tier Metacritic score and was widely praised, you know. But obviously, it is an exclusive. But it is funny to me to see those circles of like, you know, some people just don't know. Also, hey, by the way, if you call Astrobot a Funko Pop game, I'll kill you in Minecraft. I will.
I won't kill you, but you might have a mysterious accident in my general vicinity. I'm just saying.
At like 4 a.m. last night, I had a slightly feverish rant about this. I believe I threatened to melt down the Funko Pops and give these people a crown to wear. It's an old school Game of Thrones reference. I threatened to curse them to become a Funko Pop, an erotic punishment. And I did also talk about leaving them to contemplate on the Tree of Woe, which is what happens to Conan at the start of Conan the Barbarian. But yeah,
feisty.
It's annoying because I saw it several times in rapid succession on Twitter from people who should know better and should have more taste, but clearly you're obviously soulless. I shouldn't say that I don't know how you can see Astrobot. If you just see the high level, I can see how you would think, oh, Astrobot's just like a soulless cash grab graveyard of franchises. But that means that you've just probably heard an outlet or somebody show you some screen caps and talk about it that way. When you play or even just watch Astrobot in motion, the game is absolutely slam full of soul. It is not just a Sony nostalgia bait, you know, Memberberry Slam Fest. When they won Game of the Year, the Asobi devs got on screen, and one of them, like, he didn't name Nintendo by names, because I do know that companies are sketchy about that sometimes, but he did say that it was, in a way, a love letter to Nintendo games, because he talked about, you know, that while it celebrates 30 years of PlayStation, video games existed before Sony got into the market, and were pretty cool. Talking about, you know, the original plastic gray box. Gee, I wonder what that could be. Yeah. So, it's a video game that's made with love. Is all I'm saying.
Honestly, we've talked about that. Astrobot really does feel like a Nintendo game.
Again, spoilers for our future VGA conversation, not that I think we'd have much to say about this award, but Astrobot did also win Best Family Game, which is usually the Nintendo Exile Zone at the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, beat out several actual first-party Nintendo titles, too. So, yeah, it beat Nintendo at their own game, as it were, in the minds of the jury panel.
Well, like, onto your Astro things, like, as much as I do deride PC elitists to PC is, you know, probably one of the most accessible ways of gaming nowadays. It's like, and as long as you're not trying to get way too up there with your RTX. God, what are we up to right now? I don't know. No, generally, I don't know.
6,000s, I think.
You can do a lot with a PC. Like I said, I will ride and die with my console, but like right now my PS5 is open right now, and I have Dying Light open. I'm probably gonna play that later, but as we're playing this right now, I'm in early access on Path of Exile too. So
yeah,
it's one of those things of like I can understand it if people's not gonna necessarily buy a console for specific games, like buy a console for like a specific game, because I think that's one of those things I tell people is like, don't buy a console because you just want to play one specific game. Just fucking wait; it'll get to PC fucking eventually. Not looking at you, Bloodborne guys. I'm sorry, but
well, that's one of the announcements we'll talk about. You might at least see Bloodborne bosses on PC soon. But yeah, no, and I think we had this conversation in depth in our episodes about when they announced and started talking about the price point and features of the PS5 Pro.
Yeah,
like. The PS5 itself is a pretty good deal. Like, if you are concerned about upgrading your PC or side-grading your PC, a PS5 is a great investment. I think if you are a person who sees themselves as a video game streamer, and especially I know some of these people do actually have quite a decent amount of capital because they are investing in their other creative works, I would say that it's still a really good avenue because there are exclusives or timed exclusives, and also... I'm going to be honest, we talk about this all the time. The reason I think why neither of us can fully get behind the whole PC elitism master race thing is the PC is a crapshoot sometimes. You can have a really great game and a really great machine and still be cooked because it's optimized for, chips made by the other guy, or you forgot to update a driver once. The PS5 performance will not get you the high highs of a PC, and obviously if you want maximal effect, as much as I understand that the price point is sticking, I am not planning on upgrading to the Pro because my regular PS5 works fine. But the graphics for some PS5 games are not as crisp as they could be on PC. But in terms of software optimization, usually these days, I feel like there's a coin flip chance that your game is going to run better on a PS5 or even Xbox versions than on PC necessarily. It gets a little sketchy, but yeah, we've discussed this one in the past, and we'll get back there. But like I said, it's just one of those funny things of like, you will not believe how many people that I just kind of like casually am flicked by on the Twitter algorithm, and this was a tweet I did make, were like VTubers, some of whom I took as at least somewhat connected gamers. Some of them could just be like a generational thing. Like Astro's pretty cool. I do kind of feel like his hits for, like, video games that came out in the past, like, 5 to 10 years are a lot more slim, and they are a lot more the in-house games that you would expect. So, like, maybe it's just a thing of you miss, but, like, just the sheer joy of, like, for instance, in the VTubing circles, Made Mint, very well-known, huge fan of Metal Gear. There are clips of her freaking out because you find Snake in a very early stage, like some people be knowing. And we'll talk more about the awards and some of those reveals later, Dave. But like I said, it was just one of those things that kind of like shocked me a little that like, okay, maybe you don't have a PS5, but you didn't hear about this game? This was like the sneak hit. I mean, people talking about the PS5 have no games. Also, I hate that. If you say that to me, actually, if you say it ironically, I will stuff you into 2 lockers. But if you say it unironically, I'm going to stuff you into a locker. I will give you a swirly. Please stop that shit. That joke was dated in the PS3 era, and it's really bad now. And also, I've talked about this, you are actively melting the brains of younger generations. People joke about the PS2 having no games, which is like literally the world's greatest selling console. Sony dug up 10,000 more sales so it could beat the Switch. It probably... Go ahead.
Go.
I just had a brief aside of, I don't think the PS2 will... If we count Switch and Switch 2 together, which we might as well, I don't think that the PS2 will stay winning. But what were you going to say?
Oh, no. Just talking about, gaslighting younger generations. Apparently we are actually getting into a bit of a problem where younger generations are just taking things said on the internet as truth and running away with it. And people are having a hard time disproving things. Because said children are looking at said sources, but it says it right here, and we're just like,
Yeah, misinformation's at an all-time flux, and also the problem is that I think that people get a little over-aggressive about the demonizing of anything remotely called AI, but the thing that tech bros are selling you as AI is just, like, it's awful, and, like, it's real bad, and I genuinely, I don't know what those guys think they're going to be doing in 5 to 10 years. Do they think that they will have developed generative AI to a high enough level that it can replace all their employees? Because you're actively making all your future employees stupider. Like, I don't get it. But the money, Mason, where does it go? Where does it come from? Cotton Eye Joe. I don't know. I really hope that one of two things happen. Either AI actually reaches the pie in the sky level in sometime in the reasonable future that it can actually start, like, doing things and solving problems and thinking, because then it will either become self-aware and eat us all, or it will actually fix society, both of which are preferable to the alternative, or the bubble will burst and all these people will be out of their money, just like with apes and with crypto. But sadly, it's probably not going to burst anytime soon because everybody's just throwing fucking money at it, and it sucks. Like, I mean, I think some of the models are getting better. I was searching for something earlier today. Oh yes, I was trying to look up the historical definition of lictor, which is an actual real Roman thing. There were 12 Richters for the first king of Rome, by the way. Funny enough. But the Google's stupid AI summary at the top was like, we found 2 results for this. It's either a unit for the Tyranid army in Warhammer 40k, or an ancient Roman civic position. And I'm like, thank you, I will not be clicking further, but I'm glad that you have advanced to a point in your language state where you can tell you have 2 clearly contradictory things and they are not the same. Thank you. Because, you know, the Google's search AI was the thing telling you to put fucking glue in pizza cheese, you know? Shit like that, because they're all scraping data, because that is actually something that is so freaky to me that, like, generative AI, like, right data sets...
Keep talking about AI, please.
Okay. I think Lucky's stepping out to get his pizza. I was just going to say really quick, and Lucky probably remembers this because I think I brought it up to him, but you guys at home might not. But apparently, like, the thirst for data sets, the hunger for data sets is so gnarly that, like, most of your AI companies have already burned through all of the, like, publicly available internet data they are legally allowed to get into. Like, you know, obviously there are legal concerns that if they aren't careful, some things will be, you know, tainted and can't be used. But, like, anybody who's got the rights to scrape Reddit has already scraped Reddit, Facebook, you know, Twitter, etc. Like, so they're actually, like, have no new data sets to feed their machines. They need to, like, acquire, like, library books to get access to some of this stuff. I'm not going to say that they've, like, consumed the entire data of the internet, because I think the internet's up to, like, is it like petabytes? It's a lot of data, but there's just so much of it which is just either not useful or they can't put in the data set because it'll be contaminated, you know? Also, yes, it uses so much electricity. Bad for the planet. It's very bad. Though, actually, in the terms of power, I have heard that in their drive to generate power, there are some, actual being some technological process in very compact nuclear reactors now. It would be very funny if the AI craze is so power hungry that actually, like, gets tech companies off their butts to, like, you know, make, you know, affordable compact nuclear power, or finally we crack the fusion drive, because green energy's cool for, like, low level constant, you know, generation of power to, like, run your lights. You can't really crunch AI server farms off wind turbines. But that was our about data and stuff and the state of our world. There's many more things I could tuck into that subject, but you're not here for that, chat. You're here to hear about FGO. Let's do Skelligrams. So we stalled out for like 20 minutes. Sorry, clearing my nose. All right. We start with the JP News. JP News item number 1. I'm going to presume, because this is Finnish, this is Pohjola. There's a J in it, but I'm fairly certain that's a ya. Or a ya, you know. Pohjola. Christmas Eve, Dream of Santa and the Nutcracker. Surprise, it's Nutcracker themed.
Ta-da!
It's not samba at all. It's Finland and Nutcracker themed. We must porkele. Actually, by the way, this means that right now there are 2 premier gacha games that are currently running banners for legendary pieces of Finnish workmanship.
We all love Suomi in this house.
Yes. I mean, I feel like because a lot of people are jumping back in with GFL2, Suomi's like meme status, her stonks are rising very strongly.
Yeah. I'm actually a little sad. I think I might have lost my original Girls Frontline account.
That is a shame. It did just reach their conclusion. They started their finale event. But yes, the new Christmas event is Nutcracker themed with some asides. It still requires an LB6 clear. They warned you about that.
Mm-hmm.
It is still a lotto, obviously. We do also have a few funny little story sprites and stuff going on. There's some cute graphiques, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
We appear to have turned the Master and Mash into some sort of marketable plush-sized gnome creatures. Oh, ka-doom. That's an old-ass meme. So some of you are going to get panic attacks. You're very lucky that I'm not fast enough with video editing to fucking hide a gnome and figure out what the timestamp is. But we got a new welfare. Pretender, Abby Santa. So yes, Abigail was the welfare. Not exactly where a lot of people were predicting, but was a little suggested because she was up in the bonus servants.
Mm-hmm.
And our new SSR is permanent SSR Berserker, Lohi, the Finnish witch, who might also be a by-name for a Finnish goddess of death in the underworld and stuff. So she probably gets, do the secret handshake with, Aresh and Medea and Kerki and stuff. They've also already fired up a second banner as well. Some campaign number 2 is Sitonai, who is story locked normally, and Daikokuten, who is limited and is involved in the event. Daikokuten is a bonus servant, so we're rolling along. And I predict at this rate we'll get several more of these. By the way, I think I forgot to say earlier because I got distracted by talking about Nutcracker isms. The event started the 11th and is going until the 24th, so Christmas ends just before Christmas. Probably have some funny setup there in the story. And also, we got to some rank-ups. First of all, pretty basic one for Altera Santa. Her targetable battery is now 22-30% and also gives that servant 1 time 3 turns of overcharge up, plus 1 overcharge for 1 time. A big buff was had by Phantom of the Opera. They basically completely overhauled his mental pollution skill. Originally, mental pollution was just your mental debuff success up, your mental debuff resist up. So now, first of all, it's a party-wide 10-20% arts up for 3. And also, if you're on a darkness-type battlefield, new battlefield trait, the whole party also gets 10-20% NP damage up. His mental debuff success is now just debuff success, which maxes out at 25%. And his mental debuff resist is now just debuff resist. By the way, they kept the fact that it still lasts 3 turns and caps out at 100%. This is a skill with a 5-turn cooldown, chat. This means that your Phantom of the Opera, if properly ranked up and skilled, just gets 100% debuff resist for 3 out of every 5 turns. And gets debuff success on top of that. Again, crazy. Crazy numbers we're pulling in. This is on top of he already got his charm buffed as well, so very, very striking. Good team synergy, and has a few things going on there. And also, to announce with her banner being deployed, Sitonai also got a buff. Her battery skill, which is her 3rd skill, now that also was a chance-based skill to do stars per turn and attack up. That was like 60-80%. It's now 80-100%, so if you're fully skilled, your debuff success should always proc, but obviously there are, room for enemies to hit you with debuff success down and stuff. So, a little flexible. And also it added 2 20-30% damage bonuses, damage up versus Dragon and Demonic for 3 turns. Since she is a single target alter ego, that will probably give her a better spread of bosses she will be effective at killing. Especially as, obviously, like I said, the 100% chance means that she is almost always going to proc her attack up on this battery skill. Oh, interesting. I didn't notice that we already had Darkness. We weren't super using it a lot, but we got a little bit out of it. Okay. It'll come up later. Trust me. Because, yes, I do have new servant deets on these things. And also, we do have the final servant coin compensation should have been fired off after all this maintenance and stuff. Basically, anybody who did Grail casting during the period, which was previously singled out, basically since they announced it at Anniversary till they stopped announcing it, and so on, you will basically be refunded the coin you used. If you had enough servant coins to Grail cast, up to 2 times per month, you basically get double coins. Like, they put extra coins in your inventory because you could have Grail cast, and you didn't, because presumably you were hoarding servant coins.
Yeah.
So, basically, that should even it out so that the amount of servant coins generated will be higher, it'll come faster, and also, if you spent servant coins during the times when this was doubtful, or you chose not to spend servant coins because you were concerned about it, you get extra coins, which is a decent enough attempt. Now we're back. Sorry, I took a brief break there. So, the next big thing on JP. I'm not exactly sure what triggered this because, it's in Japanese, so news of exactly which campaign was the source of this. It may have been when they started the Final Servant Coins compensation. It may have been related to the previously they launched their own Lostbelt 7 clear support campaign. But basically, there was a bug that was in the system when that was still going on when they fired up, I believe, the Nutcracker event. And your limited time master mission rewards were bugged in JP so that they did not score one and done. You could collect them every time you logged in. And this meant that people could get crazy amounts of Saint Quartz. There's a chart in our JP Discord chat, JP Discord chat, which says like how many people could rack up, which is like crazy. Like, if you wanted to go ham, you could go ham for over a pity's worth of Saint Quartz. So like super high amount. They went into emergency maintenance as a result. This did last 18 hours. They did freeze everybody's login streaks because they know how to do that. And the bug is mostly fixed. When maintenance ended, they did not instantly roll back anything. The statement at the time was that they were not originally planning on deleting or gablooping anything that people were had acquired, but it was announced, I think it was like technically last night, but like basically in the past couple of days, Tucson himself, Kano Yoshiki, put out a statement basically saying that they are now planning on removing the extra strengthening materials and other items people may have acquired through this bug. They're going to begin that process. They will not put people into negatives, I believe they've actually said. They're not planning on, like, taking more than you have. But if you have extra SQ, mats, etc. sitting in your inventory, they are probably going to start the process of scooping that shit up. They did not say anything about units, so if you somehow got a shitload of Saint Quartz and rolled some new servants, I don't think they're going to, like, zero those out. It seems like the bug was probably going on a little too long for them to just do, like, a server rollback normally, you know? Mm-hmm. Probably going to do, like, what they did for the CE bugs and, like, maybe effectively individually roll back certain accounts. And in his letter, which obviously this is translated, so exact wording may vary, but in, like, open letter he posted, Tucson did state that they will probably freeze accounts of anybody suspected of malicious acts with the bug. Which if you actually, like, were doing nothing but logging in over and over again and then spent, 2 pities worth of Saint Quartz or whatever, probably, malicious, intentional.
Yeah.
I have also heard some people say that it is technically still possible to get the bug. It is not not everybody's experiencing this, but it may not be completely patched out for everybody. But I would once again recommend, much like my my pro tip at the start, I do not recommend trying to abuse this task. It could cost you your account. They are talking about they are planning on freezing accounts that are abusing these tactics, and it is kind of interesting. I believe that the director position was part 2 director was trending on JP Twitter for a little bit. Not a huge amount of tweets, but still, it showed up on some people's feeds. It is interesting because I do kind of wonder if, like, usually FGO's like pretty hands off with punishments. I think the most thing they do is they do still announce, name and shame regularly, people doing like real money trading. There's been a few bans there, and there obviously have been incidents in both servers where there have been bugs or other issues with extended maintenance, some stuff not being out there. There was obviously in EN not too long ago, there was an incident where everybody got the start dash rewards when it was supposed to be just new or returning masters, and they just kind of went like, fuck it, extra campaign, who cares? Like, there was a debate about whether or not they should roll it back or whatever, and they just said, you know what, it's no skin off our nose, have some extra currency.
Yeah.
This is clearly, I'm looking at the number, somebody posted the tweet, the estimated amount was like, over 1,700, almost 1,750 Saint Courts. I'm just like, that's not like just a little extra campaign, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had that much Saint Courts at one time in my account. It's a lot. So, like, I guess they were like, the way the letter was translated was they talked about trying to reset everybody so that all things are equitable among players, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think that sounds fair. Obviously, FGO is a PvE game. There's no PvP element. But some people were abusing this bug to get oodles and oodles of extra Saint Courts, and also some extra, you know, grails and, like, class score strengthening materials and stuff. You know, they were going to be having a different experience than players who didn't even realize there was a bug and then couldn't play the game for 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, there seems to have been some back and forth discussions about, like, you know, is it right to do we want to roll back? Is it right to lock out? Should they take our stuff? I know that there have been some, I think that controversy with Taimanin was either this year or like late last year, where they had an error with premium currency and actually put players into currency debt. They gave you basically negative numbers. I'm pretty sure FGO will not do that because that went over like a lead balloon over there. So like they probably know better. Yeah, people in chat are right now saying it basically killed the game. Yeah, no, terrible decision. I understand that you want your premium currency back, but like it was your bug, so like how do you expect people to be like held financially responsible for when they spent stuff you accidentally got, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, just in general, it seems like there may have been a little culture. I know some people in the gaming world are like, you know, exploit early and often. Or the old, you know, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. But, again, like I said, just seeing the numbers, I'm like...
I'm gonna be real, if you're using this exploitation, you're not asking for forgiveness.
No. You're asking to get a bump on the nose. Like I said, if you, like, accidentally triggered it again when you didn't realize something was going on, you know, fair dinkum. But like I said, some people were able to really abuse this, and it's like, the number values are crazy to me. Like 9K spirit leafs for Leaf Shop, almost 19,000 mana prisms. Like it's extreme. So yeah, 400 something faux pas.
Man, those faux pas are tempting though. I'm gonna be real.
Sorry, I almost said 69. Incorrect. Almost 690 million QP. Like, I understand, you know? You think it's a free thing, you gotta go for it, but like I said, it's one of those things of just like, I do not fall prey to that exploit early and often mentality, because you know somebody's gonna be on about this, and like, it seemed like they got away scot-free at first, but then, like I said, they put in a letter, and it's like, because I bet that some people were actually like, hey man, that's crazy that, like, we're not gonna remove anything from how many of these people got, or maybe the FGO team was so busy working on fixing the bug in the 18-hour maintenance that they did not look on Twitter and see just how much currency some people got away with. I could believe that too. But yeah, it's a gnarly situation, but I believe that, you know, FGO will soldier on from it because it, you know, the game is more secure than just a little bit extra tchotchkes. And I think they're still planning on I think people are already probably being compensated like at least one 10 spin, and they may double up to another block. So yeah, pretty stunks. Okay, so they did double it. I think it started at like 30 and went to 60. So yeah, no. Like honestly, other than the context of like free currency, like 60 Saint Courts is very generous for not even a full like day-long blackout. It did happen over time of like a maintenance, so they had to freeze everybody's login streak, but like a relatively short outage as far as games go. And they were like, nah, it's crazy, man. Two free 10 spins, 10 gold apples, and you know, zeroed out free quests because we realized the time gates and shit are fucked up and your AP's all screwed up. Our bad. And obviously, assuming they have correctly pinched off the bug, we don't got to worry about this in EN. This problem will never occur for us, hopefully, because they will have found it and fixed it.
Nope.
Yeah. But that does bring us to our last Ian bit of news, as we have started Part 3 of Lostbelt number 7 pre-release story clear support campaign. Starting the 12th, going until the 31st. Log in every day for up to 12 Saint Quartz. Limited time master mission for more Saint Quartz and more Spirit Vein stones. And they're doing another one of those special, if you cleared X, get Y kind of things. If you've completed Tunguska epilogue, all free quests are half AP until the 27th.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I will get a little bit into the requirements for LB7 a little bit later. As I said, we are planning on discussing the pre-game there. But that is it for the Skelograms.
All right, then. If we are done with the telegrams, it is then time for this week's Let's Talk FGO Mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. Let's get one last refresh on the page and see what we got. And we have six lovely comments from you all out there, and we'll get through them all right now. So this first one comes to Monster Girl Aficionado, who says, Dear Warframe Lucky and Helldiver Omega, no questions this week, just sending you good vibes. Wah. And wishing you well. Keep up the great work. P.S. Remember to play Final Fantasy XIV. I do actually need this reminder. There are now too many games in my life. I cannot hold them all. Help. It's rough. Yes, I'll try to get in some 14 time. Probably tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. So we'll move swiftly on. This next one comes from the Tiger King playing the waiting game now playing the waiting game to get his shiny cardboard crack. It happens. Question, hey guys, with LB7 soon, what is your favorite moment from HLB? Also, for Omega, now that Dragon Rulers are back to terrorize the modern meta, do you think number 95 Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter will return from the ban list? Anyway, that's it for me. Send good vibes your way. Wah. And hope you have a great evening.
To answer that question, absolutely not. Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon is still super crazy, and he's not even good in Dragon Rulers. You have to go so out of your way to make him. But they don't need the help. Also, Eclipse Wyvern, that guy's stuck in jail forever. Sorry. Now, about favorite moments from each LB. Boy,
I mean, LB1 is still just the whole climax of,
Golem versus Mammoth.
Yeah. Freaking Salieri playing fucking Day of Wrath.
Yeah, DS Ire is you could probably just say DS Ire and call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I always mess up saying it.
That's fair.
You could say Days of Wrath. I don't know. Honestly, it doesn't really stick out that much in my head.
My most memorable part is probably confronting Coxcotty at the end after you defeat Surtur. The moment where she's like psyching herself up to, defend the right for her Lostbelt to exist. And basically be like, okay, how many people live in your world? Are they happy? Do they have a lot of stuff? Okay, because I gotta ruin their day.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about this where, like, during that fight, I had the, sound bug where, voice lines were very muted and it was just the Grand Battle theme. So that one was always very memorable to me because it was kind of, weird. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I wish that was just, a feature I could turn on. Cinematic fight mode.
Let me think here. For LB3,
Probably. Well, there's a couple it could be. There's some... Despite 3 being short, there's some real good moments in it. It would probably have to be Spartacus Jump.
Yeah. And it's time for my legs to rebel against gravity. That's a great fucking line.
Or, I give you permission to punch us in return.
Yes, no. The final confrontation with Shishi Wong is just great because he is all like, I am going to hit you. You are more than welcome to hit me. Which is great. Just, honestly, it's just great. Let's
see. 4 for me is probably Super Karna emerging from the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah.
Even though that fight was a pain in the ass.
It was great. LB5? Oh, God.
Well, there's 2 parts, so we get to cheat.
Part 1. I guess Orion making his new NP to shoot down Artemis.
Yeah. Man, picking for 5 part 2 though is that's tough because the climax of that one is dense because you've got summoning Golden Bear and turning him Ares mode to punch Zeus's god face, but then Chaos shows up and then after that it's we still gotta square up with Wodaime and then it all goes to shit. Beryl.
LB6, all of it, just all of it. There is a Zen cone about this. One day, what one day a monk was traveling to a market and he overheard someone speaking to a butcher. He said, "Butcher, which one of your meats is the best?" And the butcher responded, "All of my meats are the best. You will not find here one that is not the best." And at these words, the monk was enlightened. That is LB6 for me.
Yeah, like, if, again, telling me to pick out one single moment is tough.
So no, I will not pick. You can not make me. I fight.
Legally, you can't make me pick.
Yes.
Because, like, and I'll say this, but, like, my first thought jumped to, like, well, Castoria, like, turning Rongomini into Excalibur is pretty cool, but then I'm like, yeah, but also there was a dragon, we fought on the airship, and then there's the final fight, which is just so... I'm really glad that was the recollection quest, so we could effectively do that over again. That moment is so powerful, because it's like, the fight with Oberon literally doesn't have to happen, but he's like, man, shit sucks, I'm gonna eat you too, and then Castoria pops out and just like, well, guess what, there's where you're wrong, bozo. Real great shit. And I guess we'll see after a few intercessions. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna break up the Lostbelt release, because it should be in 2-ish parts. On the wiki, it's like part 1, part 2, and then finale, and I don't know if there's a big gap because I did not look too far ahead yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that took them like almost 2 months to get it all out. I think it was like a month and a half because it was like the end of January. It's not going to take that long, obviously, for NA, but I am very curious how they're going to like break it up. So we'll see. And we'll talk a little bit about that later.
Yeah. But with that, let's move swiftly on. So this next one comes from, it's getting to feel a lot like Crimbo. And they say, "Howdy, Lucky and Omega. Hope you're all doing well. No questions this week. I'm just really looking forward to the LB7 pregame, game order reactions, JP Christmas servant reactions, and possibly Rain Talk, especially after the fun of the episode 26, if the show has it. I don't know, we might be talking a lot about a lot of stuff. I don't know. And Omega's feeling the goop.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I have the stamina to talk about Rain for an hour on top of everything else, but we'll see what happens. But yes, we definitely will have some sort of Game Awards reaction. I will talk about the JP Christmas servants, and I do have Phase 1 of the LB7 pregame done.
Yeah. So with that, we move on. Next one comes from Agent 418, who says, "Hello, Lucky Omega. Have a good weekend, y'all. Thank you very much. Thank you." So this next one comes from the 100-Hour Man, who has saved over 1,300 Saint Quartz for Seal. Nice. That's a lot of Saint Quartz. They say, "Dear Lucky and Omega, hope you guys are having a good week. Thank you. I ordered pizza. It has made my week better."
It's a pretty good one. I have not been having a good week historically, but it's okay. I think all the bullshit in my life is starting to even out, other than this slight chest cold I have, and even that this too shall pass.
That's what they say. And last but not least, this last one comes from We Are Santa's Elves, who asks, question, "What servants or group of servants would go Christmas caroling?" I'm sorry to say, my immediate thought would be Nero and Liz. And I'm sorry for everybody involved with that.
Yes, we have a couple of singers. I think also just a lot of the kids in general.
Yeah, no, I can see John Alter Santa Lily totally taking the other kids to Christmas caroling. But none necessarily else pop immediately to mind, so I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, everyone, for your questions and comments. I was happy to read them. Hopefully we'll get just as many next week.
Yeah. And feel free to leave in the comments of the video any other servants you think would enjoy Christmas caroling or anything else. Alright, okay. That means it's time for Caldeus Fritakius. Let us begin with the new servant deets. New servant number 1. We have our second Pretender Welfare already. Actually, I shouldn't say already, because it's been like 2-year gap, but still, they managed to get a couple of those in there before the end. Abby Santa's got slightly less attack and slightly more HP than 9 Dragon Eliza, for an example, because comparing overall servant stats is tricky these days. But she is QAAAB. We got above average hit counts and low NP gain. She has 4 hits on everything, and is 0.38 NP gain, so it is a little low. But that's because she has a art support NP. As far as I can tell, there is no damage done by this NP. But it gives all enemies 1 charge down. Flat, no chance, it just does it. Your NP, gone, obliterated. Also, we have, I think, a first. I'm pretty sure this is not an effect I've seen before, but gives a 10% boost on Master Skill effectiveness for 3 turns. This is a buff that goes on Abby, so it goes away if she's off the field, but 10% Master Skill boost. It also a party-wide 10 to 50% crit up for 3 turns to the team. It's based on NP level, so 50%. And also is a 1k to 3k heal for the team. On Overcharge, it also does 20 to 40% arts up for the team. So, for a non-damage skill... Okay, so, yeah, I was wondering, because they have an icon for it, and I'm like, I feel like I've seen the icon before, but I don't think there was an active skill that did it. So, Tez has a passive that does this. Also makes sense that I didn't remember it. Tezca de Boca is almost 2 years old, because we're coming up on LB7. But, yeah. And don't think this necessarily stops at 10%. We'll talk about it more. But just in NP, I think it's safe to say that I feel like Santa Abby is kind of like a, welfare budget version of, like, Lady Avalon. She's got, like, really strong, old-fashioned art stall effect, but also 50% crit up for your whole team for 3 turns on NP. You're using an arts NP, so hypothetically, you're going to get to fire that multiple times. That could be some pretty big damage. Her first skill is a self-buff for 20-30% arts up, 30-50% crit up, and 5 to 10 stars per turn, all for 3 turns. So she does not obviously have a damaging NP by herself, but she can make arts crits slap pretty good. Now, her second skill is pretty funny because this is a 20% master skill buff for 3 turns. So if you have both her second skill going and her NP going, you are looking at least 30% master skill effectiveness up. It also is 20 to 30% NP gain on self, kind of mitigates her lower than average NP gain, and also gives, I believe it's just for herself, 50 to 100% star gen for 3 turns, doubling star gen, pretty good because she has most of the arts cards. It's also a 2 hits, 3 turns evade on herself. Hard defenses. The defenses are hard. And 2 hits is pretty fun, because that means you can live through an NP and also possibly tank another attack. And then final skill is a 10 to 20% battery for the whole team. Also gives the whole team 1 time 3 turns of +1 overcharge. Generates 10 to 20 stars. And specifically, child trait servants get 1k to 2k max HP for 3 turns. So you've got resiliency, you've got a lot of star infusion, team-wide battery and stuff. Team-wide arts effectiveness on NP, overcharge on a skill. Passives are magic resistance A-, territory creation C. So those arts cards do slap pretty good. Existence outside the domain B for more debuff resistance and stars per turn. And she has a unique passive for 20% extra star generation on arts cards, period. Like I said, kind of seems like budget Lady Avalon. You've got a stall, you've got support arts, you support arts generation, star generation, and noble phantasms there. And you've got a very unique 30% master skill up, possibly more if you can get the NP's cycle. Could be quite interesting. I don't think she's going to break the meta per se, because we have a lot of really good art support units, but she is a welfare, and you are basically guaranteed NP5. So all in all, very solido. And then, taking a slightly different tact here, we've got a new permanent SSR Berserker. A little bit of a crowded club, but let's hope that Lohi can make a bit of an impact. She seems like she has bigger attack, lower HP, but her spread is QQA good hit counts and average NP gain. She is 0.5 something, or maybe 0.48, like right around 50%. I think it's 0.54. And has 4 hits on everything, so pretty decent values. Obviously, you got to watch out for that only 1 arts card, but still stonks potential. And her Noble Phantasm is AoE quick with 6 hits. And this is pretty funny. So I assume this is probably just like a coding thing that they coded it this way. But first, she buffs herself, her own NP gained by 20% flat. And her NP damage is buffed with Overcharge for 3 first. And then also she applies a buff to everybody on the team but her after for the same NP gain and the same NP damage up for 3 turns. So I assume this is just some kind of like coding thing where they didn't want to make it so she procced the buff for everybody first, so they just made the second buff exclusive. But still, pretty good to raise the NP damage and NP gain on herself before firing a quick NP, and also to do it just in general. Like I said, 20% and more out there. Her NP also burns all enemies for 1k for 5 turns. No spreading fire, but still burn damage is added. And all in all, very solid. Her first skill is a pretty simple team-wide 10 to 20% quicken buster for 3. Also gives the whole party 1 hit, 3 turns of evade, so party-wide evades, very useful. But also it makes the battlefield darkness for 3 turns. I don't think she gets a hell of a lot out of that, but it's funny. And it's also a team-wide quick buster buff. And Berserker with a hard defense. That, like I said, that one hit of evade will be very useful. I just gotta say this. Loki's second skill, hella mean. Awful to your enemies. So, follow me on this, chat. 1. All enemies get 1 turn stun. Not chance-based. Flat. Stuns them. It also definitely removes all their defensive buffs.
Damn.
Your buffs, they're gone. Also, hits all enemies with 1k to 2k, maxed out skill level, curse and poison damage for 5 turns. So runs the whole, we've got the whole dot gambit here. And also gives all enemies 30 to 50% healing effectiveness down for 5 turns. Just half your heal capacity for 5 turns. Get fucked, nerd. She is an evil witch, and yes, she is going to be a very annoying boss if they let her proc this skill, but as a playable unit, ooh, baby, mean. We love it. We love to see it. Especially paired with her final skill. Her final skill gives herself a 50 to 80% battery, so not 100%, but if you're willing to get into those append skills, you can crank that shit up. It's also a separate 10 to 20% battery for the whole team, and gives enemies a 10 to 30% crit chance down for 3 turns. So, she is all about turboing out her own NP damage, but also the party's NP damage, and then, like I said, perfect setup shots for any of your chosen dots, and like I said, you got fucking stuns, you got a debuff, or a buff strip, really strong. Her passives are Madness Enhancement C, so her 2 buster cards are decently buffed. She also has, Mag Resistance A and Territory Creation A. Her 1 arts card is going to move pretty good. I feel confident in saying that as a permanent entry to the team, Loi's going to be pretty good, y'all. Quick has been refreshed several times. This gives you a, decent high-yield Quick Zerk with SSR stats. She has a hard defense. She has a very mean fuck you button. And she also juices her own team up with buffs that are technically generic. Her NP buff is just NP damage up and NP gain up for 3 turns, which can be applied to many units. So, honestly, I think she slots in with plenty of quick buffers. And she even has 2 buster cards, so units who are quick buster, like Summer Scotty and Osaka Hime, can fit in there too. Great flex slot, I want to say. Because, obviously, she's AoE. She's an AoE, farmer. You can probably use her for 3-turn setups. It's really not that hard these days, unless you're getting into the weird weeds with 90++ nodes. But also for story bosses, some of whom come with entourages of annoying mobs. She's also really good. I cannot tell you what the ability to just set up a 1-hit evade for 3 turns to just eat an NP, or, like I said, that second skill, AoE stun and defensive buff removal. Well, I mean, if they got removable buffs, get them out of here. Your annoying invuls, gone. Evades, gone. Defense ups, gone. If it's removable, it would probably get rid of special damage resist. Most of those are, sadly, unremovable. Mm-hmm. But, it's still, brilliant. Good stuff. And also, like I said, permanent. Great addition to the team. If you don't know it, Lohi is, as I said before, she's a famous Finnish witch. She's from, is it the Kalevetar? I'm not sure about the pronunciation. It's Finland's, biggest, most famous epic, where she is basically the antagonist. And she's, like I said, a pretty big character. Her name, Lohi, is probably a by name for, well, there's a couple different versions of the name, but I think the most common is Lovitar, who is, like I said, a goddess of the underworld and diseases and stuff. Lohi's snake is a Finnish, pun or allusion to a dragon. The word in Finnish for dragon comes from that term. And she is one of the components of Seatonai, which is why Seatonai is also getting a rate up and rank up in this. So, very interested to see where that goes. Also, she's got one of those fun sets where her different ascensions have different traits. She gets all birdified in Ascension 3, so she gets the, demonic beast trait and the levitating trait, because she becomes a spooky bird woman, attorney at bird law. So, all in all, real good, real rolling there. But, alright. Okay. Again, we're back after a short break. The LB7 pregame. As I said, phase 1. So, chatters, it's time to talk about LB7. Now, I'm not exactly sure because they haven't announced exact dates for when it's rolling out, so there's no confirmation on NA. I believe that eventually this is just going to require the Tunguska epilogue cleared. I don't remember if it requires Trom cleared right now. I think it does, just like how you used to have to do 5.5 to do Lostbelt 6, but now you don't. Regardless, it does continue basically directly on from Trom. So, spoilers. I kind of don't know why they didn't keep Trom required, but it's out there. We're going to do it. Now, as I said, we're going to do this in phases. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I don't know how much, yapifying I have in me tonight. You will probably not get another 4-hour episode.
Yep.
But, I, had only so much stamina to write this, so we're going to do it in phases. The first drop should be Acts 1 through 10. So we're going to do those first, and then we're going to move on. Basically, my plan is week by week, so probably like 2 weeks worth of pregame. So hopefully that won't overlap, because our next show should be recorded on, the 20th? 19th? Something like that? 20th, yes. I can count. Which should still be before the Lostbelt itself comes out, just in case we go absolutely maniac mode. I do not think we will, but that should get everything covered and moving on. But also, like I said, allow us to staple this out and stage it. So, part 1, you're going to be 10 acts and 1 more fragment, so you're going to earn 11 sync quartz. You're also going to get EXP mats and prisms with each stage cleared. So, and remember, every pip you clear, of which there are quite a decent amount, as usual. Many of these acts are, 5+ pips long. You're going to get a lot of quartz frags, too. You're going to run into some new enemies, including leopard masks. Men in leopard masks. They drop the new obsidian knife. They come in saber, archer, or berserker variants. Also, there are varieties of fucking dinosaur enemies. They drop sun scales. They are usually berserkers. They have medium and large modes, who can be mini-bosses. And then there are also small dinosaurs who are assassins. All of them drop sun scales, though, the other new mat. Because, can't have a new story drop without new mats. I guess it does kind of, save them the trouble of, when they create new enemies for you to fight, having to reuse old mats that are weird, but it can be annoying. Now, we're going to start at the top. I forgot to say it earlier. I usually say this when we're doing a pregame or something big. But, remember, Lucky warned you about spoilers at the top. I'm warning you again about spoilers. I will do my best to keep things clean cut if you don't know some of this stuff already. But I will be warning you about some mechanics that are going to basically be a constant throughout the Lostbelt. So we are already in the zone where you can be spoilified. Because shit is going to get weird very fast. Starting in Act 2, in battle, you are going to be locked out of command seals. You can still use stones and seals to revive if you wipe, but you cannot use them mid-battle. Also, your character's portrait will be locked to the decisive battle mystic code, but this is purely cosmetic. You can still use the master skills and gain EXP for your other mystic codes, but the portrait in-game will always be the decisive battle one, which I think is a cool touch. I believe there have been several points where we have canonically been wearing certain mystic codes only, but this is the first time they've tried this trick. Now, during most portions of this Lostbelt, you're going to have access to a special guest character. Legally, I will not be clarifying any future questions at this time. We are operating by the if you know, you know rules. But your new friend is very special. They are going to be an NPC who is going to be level 150. They will have appropriate stats. They will be triple arts cards. Their buster and extra cards are AoE. That's right. Technically, this mechanic was in LB7 first before we put it in Mahoyo. You cannot use your special guest character's NP card, though if you try to use it, you will get unique dialogue. But they do have 3 skills, which are as follows. Skill number 1 reduces all their other skill cooldowns by I really fucked that up. Reduces all skill cooldowns by 2. Shuffles a new command hand, and also makes it so only their cards will appear one turn. So basically, you are guaranteed a Mighty Brave chain. It also gains 10 stars, seals the NP of all enemies by 1 turn, and gives them minus 100% healing for 1 turn. Basically nullifying all enemy heals for a single turn. Skill 2 gives all enemies 10k burn for 3 turns.
Jesus.
300% NP battery, but deals a random amount of between 1 and 3,000 HP to self. I really hope we can get some funny numbers there. Now, chat, you may be wondering, wait a minute, Omega, you said they can't use their NP. Why do they have a 300% battery? Skill 3 can only be used if you have at least 100% NP gauge, consumes up to 300% NP gauge, but in return, your whole party gets Pierce Invul for 3 turns, 20% Buster Up for 3 turns, and 30% critical damage and NP gain for 3 turns. So you do have a use for your NP gauge, even if you cannot use it to actually fire the NP card. So yeah, things are going to get a little crazy. And like I said, the special guest character is going to be joining you basically right away, like at Act 2. So there's no hiding it, and I figured we would walk through the stats here. Mm-hmm. Support NPCs for this phase are going to be Habetrat. Very excited to see her coming back. Our special guest, and a couple of spoiler characters. So, like I said, a lot of this really is going to feel like it's coming kind of out of nowhere. Act 1, you're gonna see a couple of story nodes, but also immediately has a boss fight with a character with 5 break bars. Luckily, you only need to break 2 of them, but the numbers you need to break are 290k and 459k. This enemy has AoE normal attacks, takes neutral damage, only uses their extra attack instead of NP, but that is also AoE. They are completely immune to debuffs. When they kill one of your servants, they max their NP gauge instantly, but they also get 30% NP damage down. But on bar 2, they get 1 extra NP tick per turn and get like 20% extra attack for the rest of the fight. Also, you have to use mash in the front row. So yeah, we are starting with stonks. But also, when you clear Act 1, Ortonax Mash gets Lord Camelot back.
Oh.
And also, her 3rd skill is upgraded. In addition to it being the Taunt and Invul but costing her HP, it also generates 20 to 30 stars and gives her Pierce Invul for 3 turns. That means that Mash does do Ignore Defense and Pierce Invul. And you can reasonably force her to crit with 30 stars. So we're giving you some support options to actually let you use Mash offensively, but also we are buffing her defensive tools by bringing Lord Camelot back, so it also now does the team-wide attack up. I believe that Ortonax Mash's version increases your attack based on overcharge instead of the flat buff that regular Mash does. So we've got some interesting switch up here. But yeah, your Kohai's getting juiced once again.
Juice.
So Act 2 is half story nodes, half fights. The fights are all pretty easy. You'll basically either be soloing with our guest to test them out. I greatly appreciate this, by the way. If I didn't have access to a wiki to tell me how their skills work, I would need this kind of stuff. Or you will also have to do guest mash Habitrat only runs. The enemies are all very mild just to test. Like, I don't think any of them has over... well, actually, some of them might have like 60k HP. I was going to say over 50k HP. Some of them might have 60k, but it's all sub 100k for sure. For a Lostbelt of this late in the phase, baby mode. You will miss this. You will miss baby mode HP on mobs. Because Act 3, we're going to get a little spicy. We're going to get a little muy caliente. First couple pips, pretty normal fights. But then you're going to encounter an alter ego boss who has 1.6 million HP.
Why did they do this?
The first fight is fake. It ends in 3 turns. The second time is real, but is a challenge run. So, you only have guest Mash Habitrat again. To clear the fight, Habitrat needs to fire her NP twice. You auto-lose if she goes down.
Oh.
But Habitrat has several guts and other story buffs to aid this. So you have to fight a basic endurance battle and let Habitrat turtle tank so that you can fire her NP a couple times for story reasons. And then the... third fight is the realist fight. You have 3 break bars at 176, 218, and 286k alter ego. This one's very annoying because it uses a lot of hidden traits. So, the enemy can shuffle your party, both randomly as a skill and on start, unless you have a defender trait servant in your party. Defenders are basically the characters you would expect. People like Benkei, Leonidas... Let me see if I can pull up the full list easily. Konstantinos is another one. So there's a few of them. But like I said, if you don't have a servant in your party somewhere with this stat, and they will be marked with a special buff or give the boss a special debuff when you have them, your party can get shuffled, which, as you know, is not a deal breaker, but if you remember, your time in Babylonia is annoying. Let me see. which arrow is this fight? Is it the third arrow? No, it's the fifth arrow. Here we go. Yeah, so let me find the hidden defender trait. Your valid servants are Lakshmi Bai, Trung Sisters. This is also future-proofed, by the way, which I do appreciate. So future characters like Tutankhamun and Summer Bargist count. But Benkei and Leonidas are pretty budget options. You also have both Vlads, and also, like I said, Constantine. Yes, both Extra Vlad and Apocrypha Vlad count.
Weird, okay.
Vlad the Impaler is a pretty well-known defender, yeah. Held out against the Turks.
That's true.
The enemy has a skill they can do to recover their HP by 10k at the end of each turn for 3 turns. This can be stopped by having a servant in your front line who has the Obstacle Maker trait. Thankfully, this is the weakest one because when this Lostbelt launches, the only servants who have this trait are Vritra and Jinako. Eventually, Tiamat Larva, Azuino Isora, and Naknaria will have it, but right now it's just 2 servants. Now, both of them are permanent, but, you got them. And like I said, it's only 10k per turn for 3 turns out of their HP pool. Not a huge deal. But also, when you break the boss's first bar, they'll skill seal and defense down your whole party. Watch out for that.
Of course.
1 turn. But still, you got a little bit of shenanigans. They also have a skill they can do which will make your own HP drain by 3k, but stuns themselves for 1 turn. So, kind of trading off some stuff. But also, after you break their first bar, they will trigger a special skill, which will activate a transformation effect, which will revert the enemy to the state they were at the start of the battle.
That is illegal. How dare?
This fires 11 turns after you proc it, and you can stop it 1 time by having a servant in your front line who has the Goddess trait. Goddesses are exactly the characters you would expect. Stheno and Urale, all Tamamos, both Ibukis, actually like all the Sakura 5, Kiara counts as well. In future, Tiamat will count. So, not too hard, but you do gotta have them in the front row. But that will basically block it 1 time, which means that you are looking at basically like an extra 20 turns to get through this. So, get ready to chew, chat. And then, we're still in Act 3, by the way. The 6th pip of Act 3 is a separate fight with a new version of the Alter Ego boss. They have 194 and 291k HP. On breakbar number 1, they will randomly slap one of your party members with instant death, and if it succeeds, they get 50% battery. They can also drain your HP by 3k again. So, like I said, nasty, nasty juice. Also, all of these, by the way, even if I don't say it, assume that unless I mention something, you are probably going to have to put MASH and at least 1 NPC servant in the front row.
Oof.
Act 4 has more mob fights. You got to fight lots of mobs. Not really anything special to say there. I will say, though, that the second one is a 3 turns endurance. You will know this is the one because you'll have to do 4 servant picks, and also all of your enemies will have 9 hits of invulnerability.
Jesus.
So that's the one you just got to last 3 turns. Now, Act 5, again, I do not know, no story context for this, but I don't know how it comes in, but Act 5 in arrow number 2 has a fight, against, some funny little guys. You gotta fight some little dino assassins who have very specific, unremovable passive effects. Some of them are just, like, permanent, sure hit and extra crit rate, but some of them have a special, red card buff, which, if they are attacked, instantly procs a forced exit effect on the enemy and themselves when they are hit with an attack. Forced exit, by the way, is similar to the sacrifice death in that it does not trigger guts. You're just out of the fight. You're gone.
Huh.
But they also have a extra final enemy who comes in after you've defeated at least 4 of them, who has 1 turn invul and a taunt on them. And also gets every 3 turns gets 2 hits, 1 turn of invul. So the recommended strat is use MASH to take out the red card guy, and then have a AoE, Alter Ego, or Caster with a shitload of damage and probably an Invul Pierce, either on a CE or something else, in your backline to just delete all of these guys instantly after. Because, like I said, there's lots of little fussy things that proc as these guys move in. And yeah, now we're talking about this in Act 5, so we are schmoving. There's, like I said, there are so many, like, gaps here of nothing. So I know I've said this before, but Act 6, we're back on our weird shit. We're in our weird shit era. The guest, first fight, arrow number 1, your guest has to solo a fight full of 7 random servants in sequence. The final boss is a berserker who has 62k HP, but you gotta fight a bunch of guys. Not the worst. The second fight, you have to do a weird matchup where you will be fighting your guest and 2 big dinosaurs. Their translated name is Most Terrifying 11. I do not understand yet. But basically, these guys, every 2 turns will proc an effect where they clear all their stuns and effects. They gain an on-hit attack to steal 10% of your NP when attacking. And they give you a taunt for 3 turns. But if your taunted servant is defeated, it procs a buff that stuns all enemies for 2 turns. So basically until it loops. Also, while they're very small, the 2 dinosaurs with the guest character as a boss have around 19k and 29k HP. When you start the fight, both of them get infinite guts. Now you may be thinking to yourself, okay, how do we get around this? You have to force one of these dinosaurs to trigger its unlimited guts twice, after which the guest and the dinosaur retreats, the last dinosaur loses his infinite guts. You must have Mash and Habitat in the front row. Like I said, it's weird. Also, if you beat up the guest, you don't need to do that to clear. But they have break bar effects as well. Like, if you break their first HP bar, which is 42k, they gain a permanent 5,000 damage cut.
Jesus.
Just to basically tell you, hey, you're doing this wrong. And then, after some more story pips, you have a finale fight. So, requires Mash and Guest in front row. Oh, I should also say, by the way, your guest is very special. They are immune to sleep, and they cannot be sacrificed. You cannot Cheng Gong the guest. But you have to fight a rider big dinosaur who has 442k HP. Technically, they've got more, but you only need to break 1 break bar. Why do you only need 1 break bar? Well, as far as I can tell from this wiki, they just have permanent invulnerability. They just have an invul that is up all the time. And also, every time you hit them with an attack, they gain 30% defense up, but reduce their own attack strength by 10% for 1 turn. So you just gotta figure out a way to whittle away at this guy through his first break bar and call it a day. You break the first bar, the fight is over, but until then, you are just hard turtling.
Turtle.
Yes, I think I was gonna say that because I mentioned the red card thing. I'm pretty sure this whole act is like we're involved in a soccer game with dinosaurs, but that also sounds like I'm talking nonsense. That sounds like I'm talking crazy, so we'll figure that one out when we get there. If this Lostbelt somehow, which I am strongly believing it does, but I think this Lostbelt may involve a soccer match with dinosaurs. And somehow that's important to the plot.
I mean, it can't be worse than the time that we were in Babylonia and we ran fucking errands, ending up with Kiyohime in a fucking lava pit somewhere.
Yeah. And certainly this
weird,
sounds
y'all.
better than the aftermath of the soccer game we had in Lostbelt 6, which was a good time, but then the village went crazy. I forget the name of that poor Fang Clan guy who tried to back us up and got obliterated. He was cool.
He was cool.
Now it is time for Fragment Number 1. In Fragment Number 1, you must solo defeat enemies with Nitocris. Nitocris is your only servant. You do not get access to command seals or master skills because Kadok master skills are back. So yes, I believe if there are, again, haven't looked ahead to part 2 yet, but if there's multiple fragments, we may get some more Kadok side story action. So you have to fight about a dozen weak archer or saber mobs, and there is an Avenger boss who I'm pretty sure you cannot be reasonably expected to kill. This guy is going to show up a lot. He has 2 break bars. They're pretty small, but he is immune to all forms of instant death. The turn after he is hit with an attack, he fully recovers his own HP.
Oof.
And when he receives NP damage, he gives the attacker 50% NP gain down for 1 turn and gains special damage resistance of 50%. I think for just the 1 turn, but I don't know. So this guy is like super turtly. Luckily, you do not have to kill him to clear this. You have to wipe out all the ads who are with him, which Nitocris should be able to get through very well. And there may be story buffs as well, in addition to Kadok's special skills to give you the extra juice.
The juice.
But they do this because in Act 7, after a couple of nothing fights with mobs, you gotta fight that Avenger guy again. And you'd have to break his first HP bar this time, which is 83k. You only have 3 party members max, and MASH must be in your front row. You also still do have some 4 enemies on field, so you've got some, like I said, Archer and Saber ads to deal with. They're leopard masked guys. But this means you have to somehow deal 83k damage in basically a single turn, because like I said, this guy will automatically repair damage that he gets the turn after instantly, and also gets a huge damage resistance buff when he's hit with an NP, and also is immune to instant death. So I'm gonna assume you're gonna want to try and like generate a turn where you can get like a like Super Orion Turbo Mega Crit.
That sounds about right.
Oh yes, I just double checked. The wiki does also say it ends after 3 turns, so you may also just be able to like hard turtle. But like I said, you can end it by breaking the HP bar, and it should be hypothetically possible. Because like I'm fairly certain if you've got a proper Super Orion, you can set him up with some of those CEs that give you stars on gen. You can make him just go full blown slam a jam. So, Act 8, we got a lot of fights. We're getting close to the Act 10, which is the cutoff for this part. So first fight, you have to fight approximately 1,000 skeletons. Not literally. It's 2 waves of skeletons. But you gotta fight low levels of skeletons, and then it ends with a fight with a giant ghost.
We'll never escape giant ghosts.
You'll never escape giant ghosts. The giant ghost is an assassin with 108k and 266k HP bars. Again, you must have some combination of Mash, Habitat, and Special Guest in the front row. Your maximum slot size is 5. All of these skeletons have a one-time Guts for 1 HP, so they will just revive once. And the Evil Ghost has the ability to suck up 20% NP from you and gain 1 NP tick. And also, after you break their first bar, they gain the ability to absorb 1,000 HP from you when normal attacking, and also steal your offensive buffs.
Boy.
This is a thing we've coded. I'm not happy about that one. So,
no.
Like I said, Lostbelt 7, we get real creative to find ways to make content still hard. Some of them are more annoying than others, but yeah, this guy's gonna steal 1,000 of your HP and all your buffs as a ghost. Then you gotta fight a Saber boss a couple of times. Once again, we have the usual shit. The first time you fight the Saber boss, it's fake. Ends after 3 turns. But you are going to encounter them and get used to their nonsense, because they have a 50% chance to instant kill you on attack.
Bruh?
And also, at the start of the fight, they give you 5 times of buff block for everybody, including your back row.
Why?
Not 5 turns, 5 times. And also, again, the if you actually break their first bar, you are actually, like, punished. They remove all your buffs and inflict buff block again. 1 time. So, just turtle. Don't do it. Live 3 turns.
Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna turtle with buff block, buddy. It's just take it for 3 turns.
Well, they are a Saber, so, you know, you're probably gonna want to stack servants with a handful of buffs. You've got 3 servant skills per servant, so depending on who you got, you can chew through that whole buff block in your first turn, but you are going to be behind on skill cooldowns for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's like I don't want to say a nothing fight, but there's a much less troublesome fight where you fight 6 enemies on the battlefield for 3 waves. But this ends with a real fight with this Saber boss. They've got 186k, 269k, nice, 360k HP, so 3 bars. They are a Saber. You will use your Special Guest and Habitat in your front row, and also you will get a Special Guest NPC who is fixed in the last position in your party. I will not spoil it because this seems really cool, but you get an extra guy in your last slot, so you have a limited selection you got to pick, but you can get used for the little extra stuff here. Also, they still have the 50% chance of instant death. If you break their first bar, they automatically NP, and they get ignore defense permanently. Just defensive buffs don't matter. After you break 2 bars, this servant gets a permanent 25 defense up versus evil servants and chaotic servants. That means chaotic evil servants are 50% defense up. Do not use chaotic evil servants. You will cry. But if you get to your special guest star, your super special guest star party member, in addition to some other stuff, they give your whole party an increased instant death resistance while they're on the board. So, you know, you may have to play a little bit chip damage, I will also say that your if you use your special guest character, they have a permanent guts. It does not say how much amount this guts is, so I don't know. Like, you may still lose out or be unable to finish the fight in a reasonable amount of time if you get down to just them. But you should have enough story tools to get through the fight. Act 9, more bullshit. You have to fight Arrow 1. You got to fight a bunch of Berserker Catmen. So many more Catmen. You also have to fight a, it's no longer a lion tank, but it's now a leopard tank, but it is an archer with a couple of break bars. The final break bar is only 100k HP, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but they do have a guts and a little bit of HP regen. There is also a Berserker dinosaur in the last wave with 108k HP who gets 4 hits of invincibility. What we're learning is that Mash's buff to give her 3 turns of piercing is very important.
Yeah.
And then there is a fuck ton of story for, like, 3 arrows, and then in Arrow 5, you have a basically unwinnable fight. The first battle, you have to defeat a bunch of low-health servants of a bunch of different classes, but when you get to the second wave, there is an unwinnable fight against a ruler who literally has 100% damage resistance and has a chance to stun all your servants every turn, except for levitating servants. So get ready to check that shit out. You need levitators. But the battle ends after 3 turns in that wave. So Act 10 is the climax. There are, once again, a lot of boss fights here. First, you must kill that one annoying Avenger guy. Send him to hell. He has 115 and 208k HP. He also has a couple of ads with him constantly who can, like, throw out 1 turns of evades. Every so many turns, they can gain pierce and ignore defense on proc. One of them has 80% resistance to arts and quick attacks. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, it's in my notes, though, but you have a maximum party size of 4, and you must use some selection of Mash, Habitrot, or special guest character in the front row. Oh, also, he's still immune to instant death, the Avenger boss. He still, the turn after he hits, receives an attack, restores his own HP, and does the NP damage thing. But also, when you break his first bar, he gains an on-attack buff for 3 turns, which removes 1 buff from you when he's basic attacking you, and gets 30% special damage versus humanoids, which is most servants. Luckily, like I said, his HP values are fairly small for a Lostbelt, 115, 208, but the fact it's the buff about fucking fully restoring own HP every time. Your special guest character does have that 1 turn of minus 100% health regen, but that's still on like a 5-turn cooldown, might be an 8-turn cooldown. There's only so much room you can do there, so get ready to once again turbo that damage, pump the damage. And you do have to defeat all the ads, so keep an eye out, like I said, for those bronze sabers and archers. One of whom, by the way, is summonable. They will summon a 4th guy just to make this fight longer. The next fight you must have in Act 10 is versus a ruler boss with 339k and 509k HP. You must put Mash in the front and must use either your special guest NPC or special guest appearance from Nemo. Your maximum party size is 5. You are going to want to use NPC Nemo because this is that same ruler boss who, if you are not levitating, stuns you every turn and at the start of the battle. But if you have Nemo on your field, NPC Nemo, he grants you immunity to that effect. But also the boss likes to punch him. So, you may have to play around with that. The boss also has a passive to heal 30k HP every turn. And after you break their first bar, they put a delayed debuff for a 30% chance for to proc basically everybody but them on the party gets stunned. And also the boss gets 50% extra damage versus stunned enemies.
This is pain.
Literally going to CC you to death, yes. I plan on using Space Ishtar to send this boss to double hell. I am going to yeet them into a galaxy beyond time and space. Goodbye. Yeah, the leyline stones and the getting all 3 seals back per day, so that means you have 1 story revive every day, is good. Because remember, you cannot use command seals in any of these fights to instant NP or heal. It is not allowed. Then in the next fight, so that ruler boss, they basically switched to a berserker, and they now have 612, 849k, and then 1 million HP. You don't have to actually defeat the 1 million HP. The battle ends after the first bar break, but I let you know just because they're playing for you. You're limited to 4 party members, and again, you have to put some combination of MASH, Habitat, NPC Nemo, or special guest NPC in your front row. Maximum party size is 4. At the start of the fight, the boss gives themselves, because remember, you still got to get through 1 HP bar, so that's 612k HP. Every turn, they regenerate 3 attacks, 1 turn of invincibility, 40% defense up, and are completely immune to immobility debuffs, which is all forms of stuns and sealing their command cards. Also, every 2 turns, they fully charge their own MP gauge and get 50% MP damage up. Luckily, it's just their extra attack, so no fancy debuffs, but you will be taking big single target damage every 2 turns.
Oh, Jesus.
Like I said, servants who auto-pierce on NP, go. And also, reminder, this is a berserker boss. So, there is no class advantage. And then, we end it with Pip 5, a preview of coming attractions. There's a foreigner enemy who has, I think, 10 HP bars? Some of you may have heard about this show. Your maximum party size is 5. You must put MASH in the start row. So if I'm understanding this correctly, their first, outer shell HP bar, their special icon, is 1 million.
Okay.
You have, and the way this works is, the battle only ends after you break the first bar and then lose. So you gotta break at least 1 bar and then go bye-bye. Yeah, a level 1 foreigner with 1 million HP. We're having a fun time, chat. So, they do not have skills. Every attack they do is AoE. They have an NP. Their NP is AoE, and it removes all your buffs, after I think at least, because it doesn't say first, but it's going to remove all your buffs, and also gives you horrible NP gain and NP gauge down for 5 turns. Let me see the exact phrasing of this one. Reduces their NP charge rate by 100%, reduces their NP generation rate by 200%. So, you better find a way to do 1 million HP without firing your NPs after about turn 5. Because it's bad. Also, after you break their first HP bar, the boss gains permanent debuff immunity, fully charges NP every turn, and gets plus 100% attack up, letting you know that the fight is over.
Okay.
And then there's a single story pip after that, so presumably you can reflect on how much that sucked. But that is the end of the first part at Act 10. They found a way to do something similar to Lostbelt 6's Part 1 drop. But also, that's way meaner than the Calamity Hand. That guy actually went down pretty easy if you didn't get some bad crit RNG. We'll be back next time for Part 2.
Yeah.
So yes, that's just the first 10 and 1 fragment. Also, I'm not saying which act it happens in, but somewhere along the way, Klanskaya of Light will unlock her costume through this Lost Belt. But that's going to be your first drop. And remember, normally I talk about, banner drops and stuff, but there should be no new banners for this Lost Belt until at least the next phase. We will not actually get new servants until New Year's when we get Rasputin. So I hope you guys are going to have a happy Christmas because, man, we're not pulling punches.
No, this is going to be suffering.
Luckily, like I said, we get 3 command seals every day, so you get 1 story revive every day. And I think you will need them. So yeah, like I said, I think that a lot of these fights are heavily reliant on the fact that, as I said, you are going to get access to your special guestmen, and they are going to have to carry you a lot through this part.
Sounds like it. Jeez. But
like I said, it's gnarly. So we'll be back next week for the back half of that, because we have fun here, chat. But alrighty, let's see. We're not quite at 2 hours, and I'm not completely out of breath, so we should be able to review the VGAs and their announcements for a little bit.
Yeah.
I do also want to say, I just added this note just today because I remembered, but as a complete aside, separate from the Video Game Awards and their various announcements and news, it has also been circulated that officially David Production is developing the anime of JoJo Part 7 Steel Ball Run.
They have finally figured out the horses.
Yes, they are officially working on it. Presumably they have been unofficially working on it for some time, but we are now like officially announcing the process. So hopefully your favorite JoJo Day returns soon. A lot of people are very hype, actually. I didn't realize that... I knew 7 was popular. I did not realize quite how many people think of Part 7 as their favorite part. But yeah, the Video Game Awards happened on a Thursday, as they do. Let me see if I can make sure to pull up a list of all the winners. But before that, overall, I think like this year, this was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
As usual, Jeff did like a Twitter poll right after, with like a great letter grade score. And unlike last year when I think it mostly trended towards C, as I do feel like that year was fairly embroiled in controversy. Had some missteps for sure. Mm-hmm. This one was probably, I think, trending towards overall A because it was pretty well received. They had, I believe, people counted up 10 big reveals. They had a spate of announcements. They had some humor. And I think the key thing that for a lot of people also was that we didn't really have any people who were like outside the gaming space on the stage for like press or anything. There was no like, weird hybrid ad for both the Suicide Squad movie and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the game.
Yeah,
there were basically no ads for movies at all. A couple of TV actors and movie actors were on stage, but it was as part of presenting an award,
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, it flowed pretty well. There are a couple of people who have a couple of points that I think have gone under the radar a little bit, but I don't think they're quite as make or break as last. Some people have taken umbrage with the fact that Papa PlayStation, Ken Cordray was like stood up to go talk on stage and was not allowed to go up.
Yeah.
But I think you can clearly tell from the way like Jeff goes through that speech, he was clearly not planned to speak, people at home.
No, he was just shouting out people in the audience.
Yes. He wanted to shout out some of his favorite guests. Obviously, he thought he may have had a chance to speak and wanted to come up, but it was clearly not planned that he would speak because otherwise he wouldn't be able to go up there. Like, Jeff had to do a very clear run through. Some people are like, oh, mean old Jeff won't let him go up on the stage and speak. Once again, people prove that they don't know anything about venues. Every minute that the Game Awards are in that theater, they are being charged money. They literally, like, you are going to go over your amount of budget paid if you extend the show by even a couple of minutes. It's stupid, I know, but it's how it works. So there's not really a lot of room for improv. But all in all, I thought it was a very good show. Definitely their best one in recent memory. Some people are saying, the best of all 10 years. I do not remember all 10 years of the Video Game Awards, so, But it was pretty solid. What do you think, Lucky?
No, it was definitely solid. Like I said, we didn't necessarily faff about things. We didn't have, like I just said, we didn't have non-gaming segments, I guess is the best way to say it. Everything was direct. Everything was to the point. We spent very little time on faffing. We shortcutted awards where we could. We were all about the games. Jeff wasn't, the Game Awards wasn't afraid to poke fun of itself. It wasn't afraid to speak about, issues that we're having without actually getting stupid political about it. And, I guess I love the Game Changer Award. By the way. And, they highlighted, they talked a little bit about the ill, but they also highlighted the good. Especially with the speech, Larian CEO, I can't remember his name right before they presented Game of the Year.
Yes. Which was also, again, part of the self-awareness. He brought up the fact that they did get kind of, rushed out of the stage and said, I've saved up some time credits from the last year. Several people poked their fun. The Kenzera Zhao guy came out to present his award and was like, don't worry, I'm not going to cry about my dead dad on stage again. And it's like, man, wow, he's ripping. They had some good guests. A lot of people I know were a little concerned when Harrison Ford ambled up on stage, but he didn't stay over long. He was, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And I tell you about this, I don't think anybody doubted him, but it should be well known that one Snoop D-O-double-G is a gamer. He has streamed before. He's been at gaming events, and he went up on stage with his son, and they started a video game company together. They're working on developing new projects. But he came on to present some awards and also give a performance. I did hear later, I was watching some other people react. Some people got some tweets from some friends they had in the audience. And unfortunately, the audience of the Game Awards was shamed. It was said that approximately 50% of them did not know the words to Gin and Juice.
Oh, no.
It sounds like the crowd was freestyling a little bit, but, he went up on stage, and he had some vibes. The only thing that I think went remotely out of the gaming sphere was that when Squid Game showed up to advertise Squid Game, the video game, they also said, by the way, we have a season 2, but it was very brief, right?
Yeah.
Like, they just tacked on a little bit at the end. So, all in all, yeah, very good. And you brought up a very important part. Jeff wasn't afraid to poke fun at himself. We always have, like, a little Muppet special guest, but they booked Statler and Waldorf this year, and whoever wrote their material, no punches pulled. They brought up some obscure zingers. They fucking went up there and did the joke that, like, Hideo Kojima doesn't realize he's friends with Jeff Keighley, which is like...
It was like... Woo.
That is what I heard. And that's another thing that's the circulating. Like, they had a flash cut to Kojima, and everybody, like, seems like, wow, he seems so surprised. And people brought this up. Kojima understands English just fine. He doesn't speak English at events because he has a heavy accent, and people used to make fun of him in the press in the 2000s, and I think it's just one of those, like, clarity things where it's a lot easier for him to speak naturally in Japanese and have his translator hash it out. But I'm sure he understood the joke just fine. So yeah, it was funny. I have seen some people, like, again, as we're in the day after, so somebody has to complain about something. Some people have tried to, like, take some shots at Jeff during the Game Changer segment for, like, saying just like, oh, it's hard for us. But, like, I think it's true, though, because, like, Jeff Keighley wants the Game Awards to be a celebration of gaming. Even if you understand negative stuff's going on, if you accentuate the negative, you're not really celebrating. No. So, like, from a yes, oh no, it's so hard for Jeff to be neutral and not talk about stuff. That's not what he's saying. He's saying it's hard for them from a programming standpoint to bring up and acknowledge the fact that there have been some negative things while also keeping the show with its usual tone. But yeah, like, overall, very solid. I know, and as usual, some people are like, oh, some of these awards, shouldn't have been, like, done in speed format. They should have been up on stage. The show is 3 fucking hours long, y'all. Jeff Keighley can't make the show go 5 hours. You cannot... How many fucking Lenovo and AMD ads would you have to watch for them to do this for 5 hours? It would be bad. You don't want it. Yes, I know. Some people are going to be upset that Best Fighting Game was, like, in the pre-show. But hey, the fucking Tekken 8 guys... Boy, Tekken 8 won, as expected.
Well, they still came up. They didn't, like, get, like, a full fucking, like, on stage, but they got up to set the word and say a few things.
Yeah.
Fucking Harada was able to get out, don't ask me for anything.
Yes.
Especially now that it came out that the last collab character for Tekken, well, not the last collab, but the next collab character for Tekken 8 was fucking Clive from Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, that's like, so... he, having booked that fucking, like, spot, right? Like, having given them that announcement and trailer, he's just smiling to himself of like, oh, I'm gonna say don't ask for anything. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him with the old 1-2. Yeah, and like I said, there are some awards that, like, Jeff just rips 3 of them back to back, but I don't think they needed to go ham. Like, I think Best RPG was actually in one of the sprint spots. And, like, yeah, there were a lot of really good RPGs this year, but a lot of those games were in other categories too, and they got their chance to speak multiple times. So, any other general thoughts about the show, Lucky, or do we want to start ripping and shipping on some of these award winners?
I'm upset that Stellar Blade didn't win anything. Like I said, I've actually seen a lot of people... Well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. I've seen people on Twitter.
There was a little bit of trending, yeah.
Ripping, either being upset that Stellar Blade didn't win it, or being glad that Stellar Blade didn't win anything. And then I've been seeing comparisons to Eve, the protagonist of Stellar Blade, being compared to... Oh, I do not know her name in Stellar.
Yeah, I don't think the character's name is Jordan, but the actress she's mocapped from. Yeah, this is why I feel sad about Stellar Blade, because, like, I think part of the reason why it didn't get some of the attention it could have deserved was because, unfortunately, like, Culture War tourists really turned that game into, like, a focal point, which it doesn't deserve that shit.
It really does.
It should stand on its own merits. And, of course, obviously, it's an honor to be nominated, but it was one of the games that I think came out, you know, a little worse for the wear. I also feel bad, even though they won some big awards and got some big noms. Actually, I think they only got one big award. I feel a little bad for the Rebirth team.
Which one did they win? Did they win soundtrack?
Yeah, I think they only won soundtrack. Yeah, best score in music. Well, obviously that was a very big one. Kitase and the soundtrack producer, like the soundtrack producer actually went up on stage and like talked about it, and it was his first time there. So like that was good. But I realized this later. The whole Rebirth cast in English was there, like the whole crew. I don't know if they were invited or decided to go to support the fact that they were up for so many awards, but they showed out in force. This is actually a funny thing that I realized later. There were a lot of shots of the crowd that showed Matt Mercer and his wife Marisha Ray there. I was thinking this was just funny because usually their D&D show Critical Role is posted on Thursdays. They used to be live streamed, but they are now pre-taped. And this was actually a thing in previous years where, hey, guess what? Laura Bailey, she's pretty good at her job. She is very often either up for awards or presenting awards at the Game Awards. So there have been episodes where, like, Laura Bailey shows up halfway through in an evening dress because she just came from the Game Awards to go play D&D, right?
Yeah.
Which I love. It's great. Laura's great. But they're pre-recorded so they could go. But then I remembered something because I forgot about it because he's unfortunately, you know, not playable yet in the game. He doesn't have much preference. But I forgot. Matt Mercer's Vincent. Of course he was sitting with the 7 Rebirth crew. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's why the shot keeps coming to him, because like all the rest of the cast is in and you know the staff is in the back shot behind him. So like yeah, I feel a little bad for Rebirth not clinching it, but also I do kind of feel like for similar reasons to Stellar Blade, like obviously Rebirth wasn't part of like that kind of like culture war conversation, but it is a middle entry that is dealing with some contentious stuff. Like there was actually some discourse about like, hey, are we making this whole remake thing too long? Is it too bloated? No, the game is perfect. 151 hours. Crazy talk shit. But like it was part of some discourse, and it is still exclusive to PlayStation, though they are doing a under 1 year turnaround because the PC port date was announced at this award show as well. So like I feel a little bad for Stellar Blade, as currently I believe PS5 exclusive. I'm sure that's timed. I
think they mentioned something about a PC port. I don't remember about it.
Like what I want to say is I don't think Shift Up needed to win awards to let people know, you know, like it sounds like they're doing very comfortable with their sales and like their deal with Sony's very happy. And obviously they got to do their like Dream update, but you do like to see it especially when newer studios doing newer things get recognition, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, PC port and a sequel has been mentioned by the studio.
Yeah, so they're still cooking, obviously. They're doing fine. But
like I said, no, Nikkei's doing good, and Stellar Blade is doing fine. They're still doing mini updates here and there.
Yeah, just to their near tie-in.
Yep, just to their near tie-in.
Which obviously I'm sure for them was, you know, a dream hit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so obviously skipping over all the esports stuff, which once again I love that they do this in the pre-show. They just rip the Band-Aid, speedball it. A couple of ones on the bottom that are kind of like no-brainers. GTA 6 won most anticipated game of the year. They didn't have a chat. That game is literally not coming out until like holiday next year. You are probably looking at around 11 or 12 months before that fucking game comes out, because Mafia Old Country, which is another Rockstar game, is summer 25.
Yeah, fun fact. They only announced this, like, they only did the official announcement of this at the last Game Awards.
Yeah. No, like, they're cooking and scaring people. Like, you are probably going to get a launch trailer for GTA 6 at the next Game Awards. Like, that's the situation we're in. Assuming, by the way, that this game that has taken them, like, 10 years and billions of dollars to build doesn't get delayed until 26, because it's fucking huge. Like, they currently, Rockstar's playing very coy. And a lot of people had a lot of copium going that there would be a GTA 6 trailer. Like I said, I heard on the grapevine that they weren't going to bring one, but some people were still so confident. There was also, my favorite hopium smoking was, one, Silksong Clown Car as always, Sag.
Yep.
Half-Life 3 for some ungodly reason.
people just don't want to let it go.
Titanfall 3, which, like, I understand, but is also super copium. And either Bloodborne 2 or Bloodborne PC. I think you're going to have to wait until next Game Awards for that announcement. FromSoft already had their brain-breaking announcement this award, and we'll see how Sony feels about a Bloodborne sequel or a Bloodborne PC port after they acquire Kadokawa, probably. I don't know, but, like, there are a lot of stuff. But, yeah, like, I get, obviously, GTA 6 is probably going to be another generational event because it has literally been, like, 2 console generations since the last one came out. But also, you don't know shit about this game.
Honestly, I don't know if I really want to play another GTA. I do want to play, like, some sort of urban, open, like, sandbox, open world thing. But I don't know if I needed to be GTA for that.
I'll say this honestly. I do want to see what Rockstar is cooking. They've had a lot of time to think about this. And I think they have their online component to get, like, really zany. Mm-hmm. I am curious to see, like, how are they going to refresh this? Because Mafia Old Country, for instance, looks slick.
Well, yeah, but, like, see, like, this is the thing that bugs me. I don't just want another game where I'm in a big-ass city and I just get to do criminal stuff, right? This is why I like games like L.A. Noire. This is why I like games like Bully. This is why, you know...
God, Bully's such a... Bully, where's my HD Bully remake, Rockstar?
Like, GTA is fun, GTA is fine, but GTA has been doing the exact same thing since GTA 3.
And I gotta say this, and I say this honestly. You know what the better GTA is? It's called Like a Dragon. Because you still get to, at least in most of those games, as we get later and later, we get more towards the chivalric heroes and less towards being involved in crime. But you do crimes occasionally, but also you stop crimes. You get to tiger drop people, and generally, I think the minigames are better. The only thing that Yakuza doesn't do that GTA does is drive, and I'm gonna be honest, I've played a couple GTAs. The driving engine is not always great.
No. Saints Row, also another good one, but unfortunately, I think Saints Row is probably officially dead. The remake did not do well enough because people were
against that game from the start for culture war bullshit reasons, and it did have a buggy launch.
Yeah.
That was unfortunately a 1-2 punch that basically killed it. The studio was liquefied again. And I think that studio was owned by Embracer, who is currently going through a crisis because, oops, we bought too many game studios. So Saints Row is probably cooked forever. R.I.P.
Probably. Yes, someone brought it up in chat. Yes, I am actually hyped for Ananta, formerly Project Mugen. I had heard of Project Mugen before. I didn't really know what it was. It was just something I heard drifting around. I actually found out that it rebranded to Ananta because Jeff Keighley retweeted the announcement trailer for it on his Twitter, because I was going through his stuff recently. Which, if you don't know, it looks like basically take Hoyover's character design and put it into an urban setting, and then maybe dial it up to 11 a bit. It looks a little crazy.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it. But and that's the thing about GTA. Like, GTA has been, like, out of my periphery so long, it's like, I don't know if I can actually get back into GTA. This is why I, like, can't get behind it for its most anticipated game, because there's nothing to anticipate. You're gonna go do the exact same thing you've been doing in GTA since the PS2. Or we're gonna go around, shoot people, steal cars.
If we are gonna do new shit, we don't know it yet because they haven't fucking showed us anything.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I'll still say this. Absolutely, I think this should have gone towards Wild. That game comes out in about a month and is gonna be everywhere. But also you could have hit up Ghost of Yotei or Death Stranding 2. Sadly, no new Death Stranding 2 news. Kojima actually tweeted about this. Because he was presented Best Game Direction. He said that he didn't bring any announcements with him. I don't know if that was requested by the production or just Kojima didn't want to make it weird by showing a trailer and also going up on stage to present an award.
I think honestly, I think double dipping would have been weird, personally.
Yeah. Also, I actually do think that not anybody who presented an award did an announcement. Was there any Bethesda news? I don't think so, actually.
No, Baldur's Gate 3 did win Best Community Support.
Yeah, but they didn't have any, announcements or news.
No, but we did have the CEO go up to present Game of the Year.
Yeah, because they won last year. So they had a couple of cases. Best performance was presented by Troy Baker and Todd Howard together with Harrison Ford. But like I said, don't think there was any Bethesda news.
I'm sorry.
You're thinking of the Wi-Fi signal?
Yes, Standing next to Troy Baker and Harrison Ford, I did not know that fucking Todd Howard was so short.
Todd Howard is short. This is, I posted a picture of him with Kojima because Kojima took some like red carpet pictures. Todd Howard, by the way, looks scared to stand next to Hideo Kojima. Like Kojima's gonna grab him and ask him where Elder Scrolls 6 is or something. But he's like a hair shorter than Hideo Kojima is. Troy Baker is a scarecrow motherfucker. They also got the guy who was like the head writer of the Fallout TV show. We'll just spoil that too because it's low in my list as well. But Fallout actually won Best Adaptation, which was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I was expecting Arcane to pull it.
We all thought Arcane was a lock, but I did kind of after the fact, like ex post facto, that technically when nominations and voting happened, the second season of Arcane didn't fully come out, so maybe they were in a little too bit of a loosey-goosey situation, whereas the Fallout TV show was entirely out and highly reviewed. I'll have to watch that eventually, especially because the director did say, thank you to fans of Fallout New Vegas for not burning down my house. You'll be surprised when Season 2 comes out. So I'm like, okay. They're acknowledging that the canon is a little sticky, and we might see some more New Vegas nods, which is good. But, like, that guy was also, like, literally a head taller than Todd Howard. It was very funny. But, like I said, I don't think Bethesda had any new announcements. I don't think any of the other presenters did. Sadly, we did not get the funniest thing in the universe. Usada Pekora did not win Content Creator of the Year. It was Queso. That said, I think it's still deserved.
Yeah.
He was watching the event live. This one was a little speedballed. Like it wasn't it was in the main show, so Jeff just ripped it off real quick. Unlike last year, I think it was technically in the pre-show because Iron Mouse actually had like a short video. So Queso didn't really have like a speech, but he did talk about it a little on stream because he was watching live, and as usual, he seems like he was a, humble, down-to-earth guy.
No, Queso's great.
So, honestly, pretty solid. Like I said, we've talked about Best Adaptation. There's better winners there. Best Anticipated Game, we had better winners. Best Adaptation got Fallout, which I think was a surprise. Best Multiplayer Game went to Helldivers 2. I think I agree with your sentiments, because you said when it was up for Best Action Game that it probably shouldn't win, but Best Multiplayer was fair. I think I agree. Helldivers 2 is much more about the experience with friends. You can solo it, but it's much better when you're drawing together and you're just, like, going to chaos mode. And that was a pretty good win, and they picked up a couple. We'll talk about the other one later. But they also had some news. One, John Helldiver was on stage to announce their next big content update, which is the Illuminate are here. Third faction, finally. Also, urban maps, as in, like, literally, I played a couple of these maps last night while I was in my fever dream. They do actually have large urban areas with, like, tightly packed streets filled with cars that explode, because it's Helldivers. Also, launched vehicles. It seems like for now, a lot of these basic maps are going to have vehicles on them. You can't throw objectives in the vehicle, which is a little sad, but the scout buggy is a 4-man seat and does have, like, 2 gun turrets, so looks like you can have some fun. I drove it a little last night. They've got some pretty strong anti-rollover physics, but if you go crazy, you can flip, and there is no button to flip back. But it really doesn't want to go flip over, so you can roll with that. Driving's pretty simple. You pull on controller, you pull triggers to go forward. Don't know how it's going to flow on keyboard. You do have a gear shift opportunity, but it doesn't seem like you have to do it. But you can shift from, like, drive to, like, first gear, second gear, and reverse. So you have a little bit of flexibility, and like I said, it's got big bouncy tires and shocks, so it seems pretty fun. And I played against the Illuminate a little. I kind of like what they did, because the OG Illuminate were really annoying because they, like, all had energy shields and teleporters. Now the way they seem to be doing it is only some of them do. Like, they've got some, like, their equivalent of, like, medium enemies, like, bug soldiers or, not quite berserkers, but, like, basic devastators, right, is an alien guy with, like, a charged beam attack that is pretty inaccurate, but also an arm shield. So, like, you gotta, like, work through their shields and dodge their shots. Their default enemy is basically husks from Mass Effect. They're space zombies. They will get up on your grill very fast and slap the shit out of you. So, like, ultimately, I think they're gonna play kind of like a combination of bug and bot strats. Their spawners are landed UFOs, like, literally they're flying saucers, that are shielded, so you have to pop the shield and then throw in the glowing blue light to blow them up. Mm-hmm. Also, they have one of their optional objectives. They have the Cognitive Disruptor. They figured out a way to fix the stratagem confusion thing. In that literally the way the cognitive jammer works is when you open your stratagem menu, it reassigns all of your stratagems a random arrow code that slowly changes. But once you've got the new one punched in, so long as you remember what order they're in, you can punch them in correctly. It's just one of those things that means you have to like stop and think about what you're doing for a second. So all in all, like pretty good stuff. The thing that I found the most scarifying was that the Illuminate have their own arc towers, which charge up and shock you, and is pretty nasty. But
it's a reason to wear the armor.
I'll try and get some more play in. Also, just today they announced their next premium warbond. Looks like they're still doing a lot of weird random stuff in there. They've got a new like stun lance weapon, which seems like it's a charged energy weapon that does stun damage, kind of like what the Illuminate do. They've got a new directional shield stratagem. So, like, again, seems like you're stealing the Illuminate stuff, but does look like they have a couple more emplacements. I am starting to kind of not be a fan of how everything is I was already not a huge fan of how everything's a premium, but it seems like this one actually has some really creative stuff in it, and it's a little annoying that it is another premium drop. But there has been a Warbond leaked that has among possibly other things, Killzone crossover?
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. By the way, hey, Gorilla, if you're not going to make another Killzone game, Arrowhead, you can make a Killzone game. I trust you. That would probably be pretty funny. But yeah, and that one is being phrased as a Warbond, so that one makes me wonder if maybe that will be free, rather than like, or, you know, are they going to, have they already put in the data for next month? I don't know, but they are still doing some interesting things, and they've got a few, like, things going on. The Democracy Space Station has been hit by the Illuminate and is temporarily down. I also love that, like, the way they announced it was, you know, they showed the trailer, obviously, which is a great trailer, but in-game, it's like, disregard all previous orders, wait for next major order, and then the major order was, the fucking Illuminate are back, defend Calypso, the planet. So, like, as always, Helldivers has great presentation, and so I think, like I said, and immediately their player base spiked to, like, 1 million peak. So, like, you know the multiplayer stuff is earned.
Oh, yeah.
Best Sports Racing Game was another Band-Aid rip. It went to EA Sports FC. I kind of figured, you know, I think there was an argument for maybe some of those others like WWE, but it's out there. Little sad about Best Sim Strategy. That was another fast rip, and it went to Frostpunk 2. We skipped over Kunitsugami and Unicorn Overlord for that, and also did dip Manor Lords, which was up for a couple of award zones. But I'm gonna guess this is probably because Frostpunk was the game that more people played, basically. Both the general audience and the jury. Like, the first one, I don't know a lot about it, but the first one seems like it's, like, very well known. And then they came out with a sequel this year, so, like, not surprised, but am a little sad. This was Unicorn Overlord's only nom. They actually did Best Family Game in the pre-show, and this was, I think, where we started to see the beginnings of Astro Sweep, because Astrobot won that.
Yep.
Over those Nintendo titles, like we mentioned earlier. Honestly, pretty well deserved. I think people said that Princess Peach Showtime was a little undercooked. Like, it's definitely aimed at a younger audience, not for the hardcore gamers. Echoes of Wisdom is cool, but runs like ass on the Switch hardware. And I'm gonna be honest, chat, Super Mario Party Jamboree, it looks like a very fine Mario Party game. Guess what? It's a Mario Party game. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get fucked over by Chance Time.
That's a friendship ender, not a friendship maker.
Yes. No. There is a reason why I have never tried to push, like, a Mario Party stream through or anything. I don't want that smoke. I've seen that sideshow before. I don't want that smoke.
Listen, we would have to, like, sign a contract before game that the anger in the game stays in the game.
Yeah. That, or we would have to do what Game Grumps does, which I also hate, which is, like, put two CPUs, one of whom is an idiot and one of whom is very hard, so that we can all be mad at the CPU, but also, that spoils the ending. Hey, guess what? That asshole's gonna win because the computer cheats like hell in Mario Party. But yeah, no. So Astrobot won, which I think started the pile. Shout out there to Plucky Swear. They had a couple noms. They didn't get any wins, but they had their nominations. Like I said earlier, about Best Fighting Game is Tekken 8. Best RPG is also where we saw something. I'm gonna say this is probably the recency bias, but we started to see big winners. This was, I think that was Metaphor's first big win.
Yeah, no, I'm having trouble coming to grips with the Metaphor win, because like I said, I've played and beat Metaphor, and I like it. It's a good game. I don't know if it was, like, should have won.
6 noms, 3 awards, yeah.
Yeah, and I look at some other things, I'm all like, it was better than these other ones, but, like,
I mean,
I'm having a weird
was- yeah.
feeling.
No, I get it. I
Like-
haven't played Metaphor yet, but I suspect I will probably have similar feelings once I get it myself. I kind of feel
I'm
Different.
gonna say I'm gonna spoil that because it also won best narrative and best art direction
yes.
on the best RPG. And personally, I'm not a big fan of Metaphor's art direction, but I looked up when it was against. I'm like, I guess it was probably the most unique out of what's there because it was up against Astrobots and 7 and what else? Neva? I
Yes.
think it was
And Black Myth Wukong,
Black Myth Wukong.
which I
And-
also like. If Wukong had won best art direction, I like. They're doing a thing that is fairly unique for video games in that they're doing classical Chinese mythology and artwork, but there's thousands of years of Chinese history of this art style. That's not that crazy, you know?
And I was thinking about it. Final Fantasy VII, while very pretty, is really using a lot of what has already been established before. Everything's just been up-res to monographic, so I guess I can understand why it didn't win best graphic. But Metaphor,
Well, it wasn't even up for best art direction. It was
I'm not best
Elden
art,
Ring, Wukong, Astrobot, and Neva, and then Metaphor won.
It wasn't. My
No.
bad.
It was up for sound design, for audio design, and score and music, as well as some others we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah,
my bad.
best RPG, like I said, best RPG is weird because I think all 5 of these games were absolutely the talk of the town for like the solid month when they came out. Like, obviously, FF7 Rebirth was a huge deal when it hit. It was a big push, but I think Infinite Wealth was like the month before it, and like everybody was talking about how good Infinite Wealth is. Dragon's Dogma 2 was the hot thing for a minute. I think they kind of got counterbalanced by like a lot of people realizing that it's kind of like jumping into a Soulsborne for the first time because the new entry is popular. The original Dragon's Dogma was kind of jank, and Dragon's Dogma 2 kept a lot of that janky feeling. But it was still the talk of the town. Obviously, Erdtree was so popular it got nominated for Game of the Year. Obviously, spoilers, it did not win, but it got nominated, so like obviously a very good RPG. And I did get a small amount of pushback when we talked about it last year being nominated. A couple people did go into the comments. Some of it I think is just like a little bit of just like the usual prevaricating. You really like this thing, you want it to be seen as like valid and true. But I do also, I think when we talked about it being for best RPG, do agree that like they did actually like add a whole shitload of new RPG content in like new abilities, new weapons, new gear. They switched up the leveling system for the DLC, so it is technically like a separate progression track from your normal leveling. So like they did new RPG stuff in there for sure. And obviously, recently, Metaphor's been the talk of the town. A big breakout hit at the end of the year. I think the reason why Metaphor probably clinched some of these wins is because, and we talked about this at the time, I feel like everybody says who's an experienced Atlas player that Metaphor is kind of like the soupening of all of Atlas's best ideas into one. Like it takes the best gameplay elements from Persona and SMT and some of their side games and like mushes them all together. I also think that Metaphor does something much more approachable with what it's doing. I don't know a lot about like the back end of the narrative of Metaphor, or like a lot of its other stuff, but it sounds to me like Metaphor presents itself in a much more plain way than probably Persona, and even I would argue SMT does. Obviously, Persona's like life sim stuff, very approachable. Most people understand, go to high school, get a part-time job, find a girlfriend. Like, but the supernatural shit in Persona is like very deeply buried in like occult philosophy and Jungian psychology and stuff. Like there's almost always hard-hitting like real life touchstones in Persona that people don't get. And SMT is like that but more. Like they have a lot of like esoteric philosophy and like Gnosticism shit in SMT. I say this with love. As like a huge occult nerd literally talked about on like the 14 stream how I bought a new fucking set of tarot cards, y'all. Like, I'm in. I feel like Metaphor, like, using a more conventional fantasy setting, at least on the surface, the concept of archetypes map pretty well to just character classes, like, in terms of, like, their names and ideas, for the most part, means that more people digest it, and... Oh, fuck it, we can spoil it. I think Lucky may have said it already as well. They got Best Narrative as well.
Yeah. That one I definitely do not think is deserved for Metaphor.
Yeah, that one is like weird one. Like I've heard a couple people in our chats who are diehards say that like they're not sure about that one.
No, like best RPG and best art direction I can wibble wobble on and like maybe so, maybe not. Best narrative, no, definitely not. Like I said, it is the narrative is fairly digestible and easy to follow, but does not necessarily have any big twist or big upsets like at all. It is a fairly standard of coming to power fantasy story.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the thing I'm talking about of like I think that the narrative of Metaphor's not doing any shit that like SMT and Persona don't already do.
Yeah.
But it's much more digestible because like it is a very boilerplate fantasy story. A lot more of the critics understood what Metaphor was saying this time.
Yes.
Which is a rub because like honestly I'm looking at best narrative category. The other nominees were Rebirth, Infinite Wealth, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. Honestly, I would have gone to bat for any of those over Metaphor in that slot, probably.
Probably, yes.
I think the thing here that hopefully the panel thinks about is honestly where I think Metaphor should have got that second win was best game direction, or that third win. That was literally a mirror of the Game of the Year noms. It was Astrobot, Balatro, Wukong, Elden Ring, Rebirth, and ReFantazio. Astrobot blocked in both GOTY and best game direction, and like, yes, the Astrobot had very clear vision and design goals and, like, obviously knew what it was doing, and it was very fun, but I do not, like, it is, at the end of the day, a mascot platformer. It's a very well-made one. It's very fun. Yeah, I don't know if it was as breakout with game direction as some of those other titles.
No, like, actually, now that you mention that, you're right. While Metaphor, I think, isn't as hyped up as it is, it did take a lot of separate Atlas things and put them together and made it all work fairly seamlessly. And like I said, you got to blend a lot of things together and basically make something. You took several parts together, put them together, made them more of the sum of the whole. You know, so
it feels like the panel probably should have voted for like. And hell, I was surprised. I guess it really was a Critics' Choice game, but Hellblade 2 took away several awards as well. I think they got 3 as well. Probably would have been okay if they clocked narrative. Several people feel that, much like how Lucky feels about Stellar Blade missing out on a couple of awards, several people feel Silent Hill 2 was snubbed. It was nominated for several things, whiffed all of them. And honestly, like, I mean, personally, in narrative, you know me, I'm gonna go to bat for FF7 Rebirth, and I will also go to bat for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, sight unfucking seen. Like, RRG can write good games that will make you feel like crying, and, oh god, Rebirth had so much heavy lifting to do, y'all.
I think that's part of the problem is that Rebirth, this is the thing we always talk about. Rebirth is part 2 of a 3-part saga, and everyone knows it. So I think people are reserved in praising it, and especially since Rebirth, this was the quote unquote controversial one with how they were holding standard beats. I think probably panelists were probably split on opinions of it.
Yeah.
So.
But no, we had somebody in the Discord chat or Patreon chat say I would have given it to Infinite Wealth, and I'm like, that would not have been a surprise. Also, I mean, RRG deserves some awards, man. They fucking let's talk a little bit about them. They showed up with 2 announcements.
Yeah, they did.
First of all, they bamboozled everybody with a new Virtua Fighter announcement. VF6, I think it is. We're up to.
Well, they did remake an old Virtua Fighter. I actually found this out later. So they do have they have been working on the Virtua Fighter franchise.
Well, I believe the reason why they remade the Virtua Fighter is because, like, there's like 1 or 2 guys at RRG who are basically preserving and emulating old Sega games to put in the arcades of Yakuza games. So, like, that's why they worked on that Virtua Fighter, because they have a lot of experience porting and making Virtua Fighter games work inside of newer video games. So they got tapped to do a new game. And then also, fucking out of nowhere, they come along with another game, which is basically like, I feel like I can pitch their new game, Project Sentry, as, hey, what if Kiryu was allowed to kill people?
Yeah.
So they are making a, set in 1915 Taisho-era Japan. They are making a, run around on the streets real-time combat sequel, or Yakuza-like. But also, they are giving it the design sense of Sleeping Dogs. I don't know anything about our protagonist, but I know that he can fucking dual-wield crowbars. Remember that one shot where we thought that guy, he just ripped a guy's heart out with his bare hands? No. He broke a bottle and then stabs that guy. But that guy is very dead. Like, he broke a bottle on a guy and then stabbed another guy. Like, we have all of the most vicious Yakuza Heat action takedowns, but with real blood. Like, we are pulling no punches. I mean, if this guy's Cutie's grandpa, I would not be shocked. But yeah, so they just announced that they're just gonna rip out. They've got 3 games in the tank. You know, we've got the Majima Pirate game coming out early next year, and they got 2 more games coming. Ooh, that's good. Sorry, we just got a clip that somebody's saying that the Omi Alliance was founded 100 years ago in Kansai in 2019. The game is set in 2015. That could be a way to work in the continuity.
Yakuza Origins.
Basically.
Or like a Dragon Origins.
But it's looking tight, and like I said, and those guys, they ain't getting the awards. Sag, their games are big. We'll see. They might clean up some more stuff later. Maybe Virtua Fighter 6 will win Best Fighting Game of the Year because there's no fucking competition. Seriously, Jeff has to think about like making that one seasonal or something, because I know we want to acknowledge the fighting game community, but it's rough every year, I feel like. But yeah, like I said, I think we could have put narrative in a different spot, and we could have switched up best game direction, because it was Astro Sweep. I don't know how to, like, obviously they're killing it, but I don't know how to feel about them slamming it in game direction as well. They also won Game of the Year, like I said, against all those titles. Honestly, as much as even we said, I don't know how I feel about a DLC being nominated for so many awards. Erdtree didn't win anything.
Yeah.
It didn't even win the Player's Voice Award. That one went to a, kind of what I figured, a death battle between Wukong and 3 gacha games, and Wukong actually won. Which honestly, like I said, good for them. They did have a huge player turnout, had record-breaking sales, and actually managed to defeat the conceptual idea of free gacha currency. Good for them. I also believe they walked away with, what was it? Was it Best Action? Yes. And they were against Stellar Blade, Helldivers 2, Black Ops 6, and Space Marine 2. I mean, I feel like the divider here was Wukong was super pushed in China and was multi-plat. Like, Stellar Blade, I guess, just didn't have the sheer presence that Wukong did, which is sad.
I think it did, but I also think that Stellar Blade was mired in culture war bullshit.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I feel a little bad for Space Marine 2. They're having a great time. That game is also very solid action, and it has been paired with... also, we're not talking about Secret Level yet. The first half came out. I've been sick, so I have not watched them. They're pretty... I don't think any of the episodes are over 20 minutes long.
No. Okay, so that's why you didn't get the fucking the Bandai Namco Pac-Man game. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, it took me a second to get it, but then I was like, oh, yeah, I haven't watched them yet. Like I said, I plan on it, but did not get around to it because I've not been feeling well. I will probably catch up with the first half after we're done here. But yeah,
Lucky did watch it.
I do want to say, I feel, even without even watching the episode yet, I feel very vindicated for Pac-Man, because most people were saying, like, early reviews and early watchers, that it's not, like, bad, it's just weird. Several people saw the trailers and were, like, confused or even, like, against it for, like, being a weird in-name-only reimagining of Pac-Man. It was the greatest psyop in the world, pure cinema, pure kino. The episode of Secret Level was a stealth pilot for a new Metroidvania Pac-Man video game they announced at the Game Awards. So it is very directly video game related. It was apparently, being tied to a game. But yeah, like I said, that one missed me by. Overall, the reviews, I feel like, are kind of mixed. Some people seem to like other episodes better than others. I think the only one that is being universally praised is the Warhammer one.
It's good. It's not my favorite, though.
No, that's fair. But like I said, I feel like nobody has a bad thing to say about it. Is the moreover?
Actually, I think the worst one in my opinion is probably the Crossfire one.
I mean, that one I wouldn't be surprised. Like, who the fuck remembers Crossfire, the video game?
Like, it's very boring, honestly. I'm just gonna say it's very boring. The fucking Ethereum one was actually pretty funny. The king is actually voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's hilarious.
That is funny.
I think my favorite is actually probably the Unreal Tournament one.
That one also, I think, has been getting some praise. But like I said, some of them are more like I've seen some people say they like the Sifu episode. Some people don't like the Sifu episode, you know?
The Sifu one is very compact.
Yeah, like I said, some of these are fucking short. Like, I'm a little concerned for the Armored Core one, because I'm like, oh, a legendary mech mercenary pilot gets to resolve his past. And like, this episode is 15 minutes long.
No, he doesn't really resolve his past. It's all right.
Stealth pilot? I'm sure it looks great, and I'm sure Keanu's doing his best, but like, you got 15 minutes. Like, episodes of Love, Death, and Robots, these are not. These are like I said, some of these are as short as 15 minutes, so like, you're very bite-sized. But yeah, I'm eager to catch up and then see the back half as well. And everybody's memeing about the Concord episode, but I think reviewers have already seen it, and they said that it's basically an extension of the cinematic trailer, so it will probably not do anything anyway, but it'll just come out. But yeah, the Warhammer one is being pretty universally praised because I said this before. Hey, guess what? 40K Games Workshop hired the guy who did the Astartes short, which I will have to, like I said, show you at some point, Lucky, and got him to storyboard.
Like I said, I'm someone who doesn't really understand Warhammer, so I saw Warhammer, and I just said, these are just Warhammer dudes being Warhammer, and I don't necessarily understand it. It looks cool, but, like, that's what it is. I will say, they do this lovely thing with how people just do not talk. It's great. That's, like, great.
Yeah.
But, like,
that was another hallmark of the study. I think the best way I can pitch this, Lucky, without trying to explain 40K to you, is Space Marines are the poster boys, right? They're almost always on the default rulebooks every edition. They're supposed to be pretty cool super soldier dudes, but because the universe has so many writers, they are not always treated as the, like, 10-foot tall elite superhumans they are. And generally, the vibe I get without having seen it, just having seen some clips and hear people talk about it, is the Warhammer short remembers the power scale correctly, basically. They treat Space Marines with the respect and weight they probably deserve for how central they are.
If you're putting it that way, yes. The 40K does do that, because those four dudes are complete and utter badasses.
Yeah. And like, unfortunately, because Space Marines are supposed to be pretty badass, they have a long history of jobbing to aliens and chaos factions whenever GW thinks they need to talk somebody up.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is probably kind of like for people who've been fans for a while, is like, oh, Space Marines actually get to be cool. Nice.
Yeah, I think this is specifically Ultramarines.
Yes.
Poster boys. Yeah.
And some of them I think are recurring characters from Space Marine 2. Like I think Captain.
Yes, no, one of the characters is Titus. Yes.
Yeah. But they got some new boys. So, like I said, I'll check it out too. I'm sure I'll.
Like I said,
I've already seen the clip online where the guy shoots him in the helmet. He just turns and headbutts that guy to death.
Yes, no, that was part of a really cool moment.
Yeah, like they, much like I think Space Marine 2, the video game, does. Like we're properly like building it up. So yeah, like I said, I'll watch all of them. We can talk about them next week. Maybe we'll talk about the whole season. I don't know when the next batch drops.
I think Tuesday.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be able to talk about all of them next show. But like I said, Warhammer's not in a bad way, but Space Marine 2 missed out on a couple of awards. But Wukong got Player's Voice and Best Action. Seems alright. Like I said, several people were kind of wondering if Wukong would win higher awards, but people were definitely like, the combat wasn't the worst. Let's see, where are we at? Did Sim, RPG was one of our big talkers. Action Adventure, I think, rolled by pretty fast. Astrobot won that one over Silent Hill 2, Prince of Persia, Outlaws, Echoes of Wisdom. I feel like all of these like have room for like people to have picks and pinches, you know. Like, I don't want to say Astrobot doesn't deserve it, but it is also a pretty normal, you know, mascot platformer level hopper, you know.
Honestly, Echoes of Wisdom might have gotten it if it had been for the fact that it runs like absolute ass.
Yes. If they could like give it this, nominate this again next year when it's running on Switch 2, it would probably have better chances. Outlaws had problems with like mandatory stealth focus that they are like only just now untangling. Like, we've been talking about this off and on. Ubisoft had a real come to Jesus moment this year.
Yep.
And so they are like actually like untangling their games. I think Assassin's Creed Shadows will be better for it, and Outlaws will be improved by it, but definitely like had a rougher launch. You talked me into acknowledging that I think I agree that survival horror, especially the narrative-focused ones, not like open-world survival horror, but like narrative survival horror like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, probably fit in action-adventure. I do feel like Silent Hill 2 had some rough competition.
Yeah.
Like they are going to be in a weird spot when you're like, when I think naturally people will stop and think, is Silent Hill 2 action-adventure? Like I said, you did a very good argument in talking around. I'm like, no, I think it fits, but also, man, are you going to pick it over a Zelda or Astrobot or Prince of Persia?
Well, see, that's the problem with things, because you can like a lot of, especially with like horror games, you have to either go the helpless running simulator like your Outlasts and your Amnesia and stuff, or you have to go the action adventure stuff like your Resident Evils, like your Dead Space and stuff. You have to either give your players no agency or too much agency, and if you give them too much agency, that's when you start running into all the other games.
Yeah,
which makes it for stiff competition, especially since usually the action adventure parts are not necessarily like the most well designed.
Yeah, I think they used to have just a category for best adventure, but that like games that you can definitely say are pure adventure games is rougher each year. Horror is also such a mainstay of the gaming biz. I kind of agree with, I saw somebody propose an idea of like, give a couple of like rotating legacy awards, like maybe don't do best fighting game every year, but if it's a really good year for horror games, actually have a best horror award. But that probably gets into the weeds of like, well, how do you know if it's a year for fighting games or a year for horror? Or what if we, God forbid, video games are good and we get a year where there's 5 really good fighting games and 5 really good horror games? It's tough, and the team has to make these programming decisions.
Well, me personally, I would just say, like, look at the year of video games. What do you want to celebrate them? Was it a good, like, me personally, like, I know, like, this is me just being maybe a little optimistic and idealistic, but celebrate the games that came out this year.
Yeah.
If there was 5 really good horror games, have it. If there was 5 really good fighting games, celebrate that. And if there's both 5 and 5, celebrate both of them.
But we definitely were in a weird spot, like I said, with fighting game, where like they put Multiversus, which everybody acknowledges relaunched and was worse. It's tough competition. Not that Tekken 8 doesn't absolutely deserve the awards the noms it got and the awards it got, but like, man, we could have moved this around a little. And like, if there was a best horror category, I think Silent Hill 2 would have won. Was RE4 Remake wasn't this year, right? No, it would have been nominated. It had to have been last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah. So like, I think there are horror games, especially there might be like indie examples you can get into as well, but like, Silent Hill 2 probably would have cleaned up pretty good.
There was a pretty good horror game that just came out. Like, I saw it trending. I don't remember the name of it, but it has like PS1 era graphics on it.
Crow Country, I think is the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other retro clones that are pretty cool. But yeah, we talked about best action. Best VR, AR, we don't really know much about, but Arkham Shadows one, that seems to be pretty well predicted. Good for them.
Yep, seems alright.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Mobile game was very fun. So, actually, these are all 3 listed back to back. So, hopefully not surprising too many people, but Balatro did win pretty big with many noms. Obviously was Game of the Year nominated, but still came away with 3 awards even if they didn't win Game of the Year. We double dipped and they got Best Indie and Best Debut Indie.
Yeah.
And also, as I loudly proclaimed while we were watching the stream, The Evil was defeated. Balatro took Best Mobile Game, which
beat out Genshin, Zenless, and Wuthering Waves. I do want to shout out Wuthering Waves for getting a nom, though.
Yeah, and they had a trailer, actually, too. Genshin was not nommed this year. They do seem to rotate them out. It was Zenless, Wuthering Waves. The other nom besides Pokemon was AFK Journey, which is another, like...
Oh, wait, no, that wasn't the Player's Choice.
Yes,
Genshin
Player's Choice Genshin or Honkai got pushed. And Genshin might be in... Honkai or Genshin is in Best Ongoing. I don't have them on screen right now. But the Game Awards nominations do at least seem to rotate as MiHoYo rotates in new games. But Balatro defeated not only 2 gacha game giants, and also fucking Pokemon. Again, very well deserved though. Pokemon should not have won Best Mobile Game. The gameplay in Card Game Pocket is like, it's literally the TCG but boneless. So like, definitely probably didn't deserve that. But The Evil was defeated. We actually got to walk away with a pretty good win. And Bricky, a streamer and also a 40K content creator, though he runs some side biz with some other content creators to do like merchant stuff. He has a very famous, he now has a tweet that blew up because he posted a pic of him playing Balatro at the Game Awards, and everybody saw it, which is very funny, but goes to show you, y'all. I also want to say, great work for them to do Best Debut Indie, which also, great pull, by the way. They had a couple of the Shovel Knight devs come up with the 8-bit music remix and be like, hey, by the way, we won the first Best Indie Game Award 10 years ago.
It's actually well timed because Balatro just did their latest update, their Friends of Jimbo pack.
Yeah.
I saw the commercial for it. It was actually hilarious. That was Ben Starr dressed up as a clown.
Was. Ben Starr in places he shouldn't be. God, that boy's getting so much work. He's great. But yeah, they have a lot of game shoutouts. I think they either added Shovel Knight or Shovel Knight was already in the game in the Friends of Jimbo.
I think they added Shovel Knights because they also added Warframe in there as well. Funnily enough, another game that Ben Starr has recently been in.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they picked Ben Starr. Like Balatro approached Warframe to be like, hey, we'd like to add you to the next Friends of Jimbo pack. Also, we're thinking of doing a marketing run. You know anybody for that? Ben Starr can be a clown. Good for him.
He was a very funny clown.
Yes. But yeah, no, I've talked about this because the previous two Friends of Jimbo pack are crazy. They've got like Witcher and Cyberpunk themed decks. They have Dave the Diver. Slay the Spire is one as well. Stardew Valley, I think, is another. Like it's crazy to pull. But the actual one-man guy who made Balatro did not go up on stage. He actually stayed in the crowd. You can still see him because he was there in person. But he had some of his the people who helped him publish it go up on stage, and like they actually talked about how like, hey, you probably feel like you don't deserve this award, but you absolutely do. But also, we are gonna like make sure to shout out that all of these indie games are great. Like another kind of solidarity moment. But yeah, Balatro racked up 3 awards, pretty good. Best community support. Your options were Baldur's Gate 3, FF14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. Baldur's Gate 3 won.
Apparently, I actually looked into this. Apparently, they have been doing a lot of stuff in game to keep it going.
Yeah,
like,
they've been doing new free updates and stuff.
Yeah.
Added.
I was not aware.
Yeah, I think every class got like a new subclass in a recent update, and they've been doing like story. Some people who like play a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 think they may be getting a little too hands-on, but they've been doing like story and character tweaks and like adding new endings and stuff for characters like all throughout. So like,
yeah,
they're very involved and very responsive to community feedback. So probably deserved. Best ongoing game was options were Destiny 2, Diablo 4, FF14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 won. This, I think, is also very deserved. Like, they've had some low moments, but Helldivers 2 has been very open about, like, attempting to respond to feedback and definitely to, like, keep evolving and changing the game. Whether it's just coming up with new major orders to, like, the whole Democracy Space Station arc. Obviously, after they won this award, they fucking announced, hey, new faction. Like...
It was very well timed.
Yes, they are... And I think, actually, when he went up on stage for Best Ongoing Game, I'm pretty sure Pilskin, the former CEO, now Chief Creative Director, was there in person. He was like, oh, this is a pleasant surprise. Like, I think he was kind of surprised that they did actually take home some awards after they'd had some controversies. But no, they I think they do deserve it. Helldivers 2 was a benchmark game when it launched, and... hey, guess what? They proved they are a benchmark game again. So yeah, like totally deserved. I always feel a little bad, like when 14 gets nominated every year and doesn't lock in, but like we've talked about this. Dawn Trail's not as much of a knockout of the park as Shadowbringers or Endwalker was yet. Like it's still cooking.
We're going places, but
and it's one of those things of like the gameplay of Dawn Trail and the patches. Chef's kiss. Great shit. The story content was a little underbaked and did kind of get into some points of some people not feeling super great about it. And obviously, like we said, that some people burned through the new story content way too fast and didn't have anything to do. It'll be... I think maybe after a couple more slots in the patch cycle and people got to really think about it, and especially if we get some of our big tentpole stuff that's still coming, like Beastmaster Job or the new Cosmic Explorations... We might clinch that win next year. We'll see.
Yeah, no, we're still too early in the X-Pack for the thing. We have, like, no one has anything to do right now.
Yeah, it's one of those moments of, like, I think if Dawn Trail had been another Endwalker, easy win. But I have to be honest, it was not. It was not another Endwalker. At least not at launch. Which is obviously where Endwalker was the best received. We've talked about this at length, but the patches got away from them a little bit. They got a little in the weeds, but... I still really like Endwalker. like Shadowbringers and Endwalker, like back to back, are just such amazing, works. And so Dawntrail is a tough act to follow, but they're gonna try. Some of that content very strong. Those raids very cool. Certainly the new Alliance raid is making me bust my balls a little. And you do get to hang out with Bakula Jaja more. So like obviously we can't say the Alliance raids are bad.
Oh.
So like they're cooking, but it's not fully cooked. Games for Impact actually went to Neva. That one is kind of interesting to me. That does kind of look like another sad game with a dog.
Oh, God. I don't want to call it Oscar bait, but I feel like this is a style of game that's all like, we want you to have a very specific emotional response to this game.
Yeah. And honestly, I think all of those games, except maybe Life is Strange, the response Life is Strange Double Exposure seemed to want to expose was, to bring about was, please don't make us make another one of these. Like I said, I'm not like a huge Life is Strange guy, but I have played the original. It does really sound like, because it's not the original game devs who made Double Exposure as the first like true sequel. They don't really seem like they want to be making this game. Square Enix sat them down and said, you're doing it. But yeah, like Indica, Closer in the Distance, Hellblade 2, and Kenzera Zao were all like definitely doing specific stuff. I think I pulled for Kenzera because like a lot of people said it was both a really interesting and unique game and also had something to say, but Neva did have a dog, so I mean,
people like
dogs. Yeah. Innovation and accessibility went to Prince of Persia. Pretty well deserved. Like that like sub studio at Ubisoft was basically dissolved after the game didn't make buku bucks right away. So like, I'm glad they got a little something. Like, because their game was supposed to be really good. Best performance. This was one of the ones that Hellblade picked up. Melina Jurgens of Senua Saga Hellblade 2 won. Went up against Hannah Tell from Life is Strange, Brianna White from FF7 Rebirth, Humberly Gonzalez from Star Wars Outlaws, and Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2. This one's another weird one of, like, I don't want to say that Miss Jurgens doesn't deserve it. They did make sure to point out this was technically her second win because she also won for her performance with Hellblade 1. So, like, obviously very high quality. And Axe mentions this to us, and I did a little bit of reading. In the game Hellblade 2, like, she is basically the entirety of that performance. Like, she is doing motion and face capture and also doing all the voice, and like in a lot of cases is basically only acting against herself and like maybe a couple of NPCs. So like obviously she's a big presence, but I mean Brianna White killing it, and obviously like she did already win a golden joystick, but this is probably going to be her last chance to be up for an FF7 game, because while I'm sure Aerith will show up in the third game, she is obviously not going to be as nearly as much of a focal character as she was in Rebirth. Mm-hmm. Like They went hard in the advertising and the narrative structure of that game to be like, hey, this one is about giving you a character arc with Aerith, because her position in the story from now is going to be a lot weirder and a lot loosey-gooseier, banished to the Force Ghost dimension. If I had to hope, I really hope that they go ham that the third game is about Cloud and Tifa's relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the story is actually about that, but also, like I said, I hope they like, go that way in the marketing and the story structure direction, because that's like, man, the third game is going to be whether it's reunion or I've heard some people suggest maybe return. Like, that's going to be a weird Act 1, chat. We've talked about it a lot. It's going to be a weird Act 1. You're going to be very uncomfortable on that in that Icicle Inn town. It's going to be very weird. We got to learn about Aerith's backstory, about her dad. We got to go snowboarding. We got to climb a cliff. Maybe it's gonna be odd because everybody's going to be feeling feelings, and we're going to be out here like, man. But also snowboarding. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, so I can't say that it's not deserved for Jurgens to win, but like, again, fierce competition, and a little sad we couldn't get some more. Hellblade 2 also got best audio design. Don't know a lot about, what they did, but it did seem like it was much more of a like game focused on an immersive narrative than about like super cool gameplay,
Yeah.
So, a solid one. And like we said this before, like, it's cool that FF7 Rebirth got the nomination, but, like, is their audio design really good? They did have some good stuff. They do some like, creative reimagining of good sounds, but I don't know if their sound design is as much of a standout as score and music,
Nah, it's really not.
But they did win score and music, absolutely deserved. Remake also won that award. I suspect when the third game comes out, it will win this award again, because, like, Their nominees, they were up against Astrobot, Medieval ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade, all phenomenal soundtracks. Well, okay, I don't know much about Silent Hill, but I think they had a cool ending track for the credits. And hopefully had some other cool music in there to have been nominated. But I know Astro, ReFantazio, and Stellar Blade were all really good. Oh, man, Rebirth is just, like, such a powerhouse, though. We have talked at length about how cool that soundtrack is, but, like, the best way I can put it is when we were on stream and we were talking about it, I was like, just that little sting when they did the orchestra to, like, play through those opening notes of, like, the main theme, you know, On My Way. I'm just like, it makes me emotional just to hear those notes. Like, that's how strong this soundtrack is.
Mm.
And also, they got, like, fucking 200 songs, man. These guys, like we said before, the audio team at Square is fucking
huge,
going apeshit to make these soundtracks. There's so much variation. And then I think, actually, yeah, we've mentioned all the other winners. There was Best Art Direction, Best Narrative, Best Game Direction, and Game of the Year. So, like I said, I would probably have switched Astro and ReFantazio or put ReFantazio in Narrative, let Astro take Game of the Year, and like, let somebody else win Narrative overall, and, like, swap those around. Art Direction, similarly, like, Astrobot, Wukong, Elden Ring, ReFantazio, Neva, like, people do seem to agree that parts of, or the entirety of ReFantazio's menus may have been a little over-designed, but other elements of their art direction were very strong. Character design, monster design, other kind of stuff. So that's a good one. Let's see, what's our mission clock? We're only at just breaking 3 hours, so we're not going crazy over time. And then we got the announcements. We've already talked about a couple of them, but we also still got some real big hitters. We talked about RGG's announcements. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Obsidian had some news too.
Yeah.
Very funny trailer where they talked about how they made a lot of sequels. I loved their joke about Fallout New Vegas when they made Fallout 3 Part 2 New Vegas.
I like how they said Fallout 2, like it was a question mark.
Yeah. Very good. But they announced Outer Worlds 2 coming 2025. They did make sure to announce that they are still multi-plat, while Obsidian is owned by they are an Xbox first-party studio. They are still going to PS5, which will be good if there is any kind of, like, old save data bonus, because I've played the PS4 version and the next gen version. I'm pleasantly happy about this one. It wasn't one of the holy shits, but I think it was a good announcement, and they did at least mention that it took them about 3 times as long to make, which is honestly good. The original Outer Worlds was, I believe, holiday rushed. And they say it's going to be about twice as big, and it's going to have all the things, you know, that you thought would be in the first game. Very tongue-in-cheek trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Obsidian, like, giving them a little longer to cook and giving them time to work will make a very solid one. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. This was later in the show, but I definitely want to bring up... there are some Resident Evil fans who are a little sassy. They didn't get anything, but Capcom is killing it because one of the things they announced was, after 18 years, new Onimusha game.
Yep.
A franchise reboot, but not a remake, it doesn't sound like. They are setting it in Edo period Kyoto, and it sounds like we are doing a new story. Very spicy new graphics. Very good look.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, very, very solid presentation. Let's see. I'm just going up. The Payday devs have split off, and they're doing their next new game. Main lead and his team, Den of Wolves, which is basically what if Payday was Cyberpunk.
That seems fun.
Yeah, looks pretty fun.
Unfortunately, we do have to talk, like, mentions, like, more people are still playing Payday 2 than Payday 3.
Yeah, I am confident that as a studio, the Payday 3 team can, like, make Payday 3 good eventually, but...
Eventually.
They had a rough launch. They have not quite ratcheted it back in yet. They're still working on it. And to see the original guys, you know, break out on their own, and they're going to hit up, you know, a Cyberpunk one, I'm like, yeah, no, that seems like it's going to be solid. We're going to talk about the FF7 Rebirth PC release, which is probably going to bring more people up about it. We're getting a new Ninja Gaiden game.
Yeah. That's
pretty cool. I had a great retro trailer. That was, I think, the first world premiere. The head guy behind Deus Ex and Thief is making a new PvPvE immersive sim style stealth action game. What's the actual title of that one again? It was Thick as Thieves. I mean, they just showed like a pre-rendered trailer with like maybe some like footage suggested of what their gameplay is. I did actually hear from some people they did have a behind closed doors demo, so they've got a little something.
Okay.
To show. It is PvPvE though, so I'm like, I I would much prefer to team up and do funny 4-man heist, not race against people. We'll have to see if it has some co-op.
I really don't like always constantly have to compete against other people in these kind of things.
Honestly, I get my ass beat playing games like the old Deus Ex and Thief hard enough as is. I don't need humans also who are way better at this than me. Could be something going on. We had a breathtaking concept trailer for the next game by Fumito Ueda. It is no longer by the
Team Ico.
Yeah, I think those guys actually may have like been Ueda-san definitely doesn't work there anymore, and I think Team Ico may have been like folded up into like where Asobi is now or closed shop earlier. But it's being published by Epic Games at their new studio Gen Design, and a phenomenal trailer that showed a bog standard Team Ico protagonist climbing a robot, not a Colossus, a robot. But then he gets in the robot's head and it tries to take off as a huge shockwave. So I'm like, they're still in early tech dev, but I'm interested. I'm going to be there. Randy Pitchford came on stage to sell me a car, aka sell me Borderlands 4. It's Borderlands still.
It's not looking the worst.
No, they obviously, I think with like what they did with like Tiny Tina's Wonderland, they tried to like flex their muscles and get like much more sci-fantasy. That was a PS Plus game that I have like in my library but still haven't played. But they're going back to the classic. It looks like they're finally we are actually. I was curious if that could be a Hypercorp, but no, I think it is basically confirmed. This is actually the like Iridian War that they were like pitching in earlier games is actually coming to fruition. So like we're gonna have a heavy focus on the Iridians, but also the random psychos. But we still have that cel shaded art style. We still got guns aplenty, and we got some different world hopping stuff. So I'm like, yeah, Borderlands.
Borderlands.
I didn't finish 3, but we'll see if 4 sucks me back in.
Yeah, like I said, I'm only up to the pre-sequel, so...
Yeah, for me, 3 was the real break. Like, I played the hell out of 1, 2. I think I've mentioned this before. I would fucking couch co-op 1 and 2 with my dad, like, back in the PS3 era. Like, that was... So, like, that's got some old school vibes. And I've cleared pre-sequel. 3 was where they kind of lost me to some of the early gameplay was a little tougher and a little more fidgetier. I've talked about this before. Like, I felt like I was running out of individual types of ammo more, and they wanted me to like swap my guns a lot faster. Which I'm like, when you're early and you only have a couple slots, Borderlands, that's a lot tougher. It means I'm like picking up and throwing down a lot of shit all the time, which I'm already doing. And the story was definitely not. It was cracked up. Like, they just can't. You can't just replace Handsome Jack. Okay, like he was a vibe. But so Borderlands 4 got debuted, and like I said, obviously, I think because he literally had 4 on his jacket, like, he was playing it up, but Randy Pitchford looks like a fucking used car salesman.
He really does.
It's surprising, like, how much it hit up there. But yeah, they had a decent trailer, so, we'll see. It will not be worse than the Borderlands movie. But the guy who made It Takes Two, from their studio, he came back out and showed their new game, Split Fiction.
Yeah.
I think a few of us in the call were like, I don't know where this narrative direction is going, but the gameplay looks sick. So Split Fiction is going to be another kind of like 2-man co-op, kind of like It Takes Two. I've heard some people say that it's like, it looks like they came up with a lot of ideas for like puzzles and level design from It Takes Two, but couldn't fit them in. And they were just like, fuck it, what if we just made a game that we did everything? And so basically the premise is you get sucked into the magical VR realm, where your stories get made real, but accidentally 2 authors get put in the same bubble. So they basically bounce back and forth because one of them writes fantasy, one of them writes sci-fi, so they get to kind of like bounce back and forth between the 2 super tropes and try out a lot of different things. And they had some good gags about this. There's a level wholly focused around raising a dragon. Very cool, I approve. Mm-hmm. But also they had some good jokes. There was you have 18 unpaid parking tickets, prepare to die, and like, I think the fantasy writer was like, oh, that doesn't sound right at all. But all of us at the call were like, no, that sounds like real life. So, like I said, the gameplay looks like it's going to rip, and that guy is always so happy to be there. Always drops at least one F-bomb.
He dropped multiple F-bombs.
Yeah, but he's cooking. He's happy to be here. He mentioned that the 2 protagonists of the game are named after his 2 daughters who were there in the crowd, who were definitely, like, not paying any attention to what was going on.
I love it. He said, camera guy, look at them. And then the camera went over to them.
Yeah.
Nah, that was great. I enjoy that. Like, he's I can't remember his name to say. It was Yosef.
Yeah, it's Yosef. I forget his last name off the top of my head. It's pretty short, but he's a great guy. There's a reason why Jeff Keighley keeps inviting him back to speak at the Game Awards. Basically, he has an energy when it comes to it that he brings that is great for this like celebration of video games. And also, to be fair, It Takes Two did win Game of the Year one year, so like he's got the reason to keep coming back as a legacy poll too. So it's a great one. Then I think we got to what I want to say are I feel like there's 4 big pillars of like the surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue at least 2 of these 4 made some people go, holy shit.
Oh yeah.
First of all, despite the fact that they literally just entered production, Witcher 4 had an official reveal trailer, officially called Witcher 4. A beautiful trailer. Great looking cinematic work. But they also very clearly put out that Ciri's going to be the main protagonist.
Yep.
This has, of course, once again, caused culture war bullshit.
I don't know why.
People are out here trying to say that Ciri looks ugly in the trailer, and I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking?
She looks honestly, I think she looks too pretty for the setting that she's in. God.
Yeah, they probably didn't dirty her up for the trailer because they want to show her off. No, it's I don't know. It's cultural tourism. It's bullshit. Also, if you're trying to, first of all, if you want to tell Witcher 4, oh, go woke, go broke, no. Witcher 3 has won a Game of the Year award at the Video Game Awards previously. This game is going to sell 1 more billion copies.
Yeah, no, and the devs have been talking about, they've been planning this for the past 9 years. Not to mention that in the actual Witcher novels, Ciri is much more of a focus than Geralt is.
Yeah. So... And I'm fairly certain, again, haven't played through Witcher 3 myself. The game is like 1 million hours long. But I'm fairly certain that people who have played it have said, that game feels like it's setting up Geralt to retire. Like, that is his big hurrah, so he can, like, go home and retire, and Ciri can take over.
Plague went.
Yeah, Plague went. That's all he needs to do. But yeah, so, like, solid-looking game. They showed off some magic tricks, so we're gonna do some cool stuff. I think we're going there. And obviously, I think it has the correct tone set for a Witcher game, which is, like, the Polish peasantry doing a bullshit, ends on the line of her saying, there are no gods here, only monsters. And I'm like, yeah, that's Witcher. We're witching. So, like, very solid trailer. Was a surprise to see, because, like we said, they literally just went into full production, and we're still codenaming it Project Polaris. So, like, yep. We knew it was coming, but didn't realize they were in a position where they're like, we're marketing. It probably shouldn't be surprising. Like, it took Cyberpunk, like, 10 years to fucking come out after its first trailer, so...
It really did. God, I remember the first teaser trailer for fucking Cyberpunk.
Yeah, very iconic trailer, and almost none of that shit made it into the end. Like, that character got, like, a brief cameo in a side quest, and Mantis Blades made it in, but also, by the way, speaking of funny nods, one of the side quests that is, like, a little puzzle-solving thing that they added to Cyberpunk with the new update, there is a Balatro-related Easter egg quest now. So I'm like, that's cute. Yeah, they added some very fun stuff. I'll probably talk about, we'll talk about FromSoft's announcement next, because that's a very interesting one. So Hidetaka Miyazaki said they currently did not have any plans for DLC or a sequel to Elden Ring, but we are getting Elden Ring Night Rain, a standalone co-op Elden Ring game, 3-player co-op, coming in 2025. Network test early next year. They are claiming it is a survival action roguelike. It looks like it's taking some elements from Battle Royale games, and a lot of people actually compared it to Monster Hunter when in the trailer, and I'm like, now that you say that, I can see that. They're saying it's not a live service game, but basically the way it works is it sounds like it's going to be a lot more contained runs. Instead of running the entire world map of an Elden Ring, it's a much more focused experience. Basically, you get up to 3 friends, or you can run it solo if you're brave. You play a game where you have to survive 3 days in the Elden Ring setting. At the end of each day, or at the end of each night, you fight a boss. And so you and your party spends the rest of the day, like, beating up guys, building strats, figuring out what you're going to do so you can fight a boss. And then at the end of the 3 days, you fight the big boss. And then if you win, I guess you successfully complete a run. Good job. If you die, you get relics and other rewards so that you can level up your characters.
So, actually, like, ironically doing the roguelike thing where instead of, like, the Soulsborne thing where actually dying, like, gives you a chance to lose everything, it sounds like, dying in Night Rain is actually one of the ways that you can get, like, permanent increases. There is going to be, like, some amount of leveling and builds and stuff, but it also looks like they're narrowing it down. There's going to be 8 selectable character archetypes to pick from. But it also looks like they've once again upped their traversal game. You can summon not just a spirit mount, but a, like, spirit bird to fly and glide you. And also do some interesting mantling stuff they showed in the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a weird, like, dungeon crawler mode in Bloodborne that this sounds very related to. But also, they're doing some weird continuity stuff, because, Loft did this outburst out loud. They showed the Nameless King, which is a very infamous optional boss from Dark Souls 3. Big tough guy who rides a dragon. And also, the character talking to you looks like the Firekeeper from Dark Souls 3 as well, so, like, looks like we're gonna get some legacy content. Also, the gameplay looks like it's borrowing elements from multiple games. Some people showed up in the trailer. There are, Sekiro-style perfect parries, like parry frames and stuff. So they're doing some very interesting things. Like, also, Miyazaki did say they are planning on looking at a price point like Shadows of the Erdtree, so like a $30 or $40 game. So for a more focused experience that is co-op focused, I'm actually very interested in this. I joked about this. I in the VC, but I turned to Lucky and said, "Lucky, it's Happy Souls Elden Ring." Like I also tweeted about this. I was like, wow, so FromSoft really saw everybody download the Seamless Co-op mod and went, oh, people will buy this. Because, like, I think they didn't realize how much people wanted to co-op Elden Ring, and they just made co-op Elden Ring. Like, obviously, it's not the full game, but you're gonna get to do builds and brews. Apparently, you can revive down teammates, and you're gonna get to fight bosses, some of which are gonna be legacy bosses. So, like, yeah, no, seems cool. I'm definitely gonna have to see, like, what the level of experience is, but I could absolutely see us getting into this next year, maybe. Like, maybe not, like, heavy, but definitely trying it out.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to see if we can get Loth to be our third guy. He actually knows what an Elden Ring is, and he has a PS5 now.
Yeah.
But, like, no, like, like, honestly, it's so funny. Like, I'm not, like, giga hyped about it, but this does actually sound like FromSoft has made a game that answers some of my criticisms of, like, it's all about playing with my friends, and also, they have made what sounds like a compact, streamlined experience that respects my time, you know? Like,
yeah.
The run ends after 3 nights of bosses, and I'm like, well, so it's just the gameplay loop then. I love their storytelling and stuff, but it's so, for me personally, it's such a pain in the ass to get through. Like, I've talked about this recently. I'm always forming my opinions on FromSoft games. Elden Rings especially is not, like, an impossible game. Somebody literally beat Shadow of the Erdtree at, like, character level 1, you know? It took them 1,000 hours, but they did it. And that's the thing. I don't got 1,000 hours to spend on Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is cool. I do like playing it sometimes. It is a game that is not respective of your time as, like, a time-conscious consumer. Like, Elden Ring's a very beatable game. It's got a lot of interesting things going on. I can tell you, if they got a character who does, like, carrion sorcery or dragon magic, I'm there. I'm all about it. Also, it looks like in the trailer, at least one of the characters is a bird man. Or possibly bird woman. I don't know. But they've got a bird head. That's rad. But, like, God, Elden Ring has so much space to sink so much time in, and I'm just like, God, I don't have the time to sit down and focus and get good on this. Like, boss weapons. We've got boss weapons. So like I said, if they're aiming for a lower price point and a more streamlined experience, I'm definitely interested to see and check it out. And maybe we'll see what the network test is like, you know, if they have an open beta. We can feel it out. And it does sound like they're not doing, like, a monetization model. Like, this does not seem like, I talked about this, I thought at first this was the, like, mobile port. They've talked about doing, like, a mobile or MMO version with, I think, like, NetEase. This is not that. This, I think, is all by From in-house. So, like, I'm very interested to see where this is going. But, Jeff had 2 big bangers at the end of the show. Before they did do Game of the Year, he announced, and actually, like I said, this one actually kind of, like, almost went over my head. Like, we were all yapping around stuff and kind of, like, didn't pick up on the vibes in the VC at first. But I went back and watched this later with a little more focus. Like, shout out to Jeff Keighley. Man, almost teared up at this announcement. Like he actually had an emotional vibe doing this announcement when they brought out the orchestra to rep. Hey, by the way, after 18 years, OKAMI 2.
an Okami sequel, led in by the orchestra with the drums, playing the classic vibes. A crazy good reveal. Like I said, this one, I think I was too, like, stunned to be, like, a full-blown, like, holy shit. But, like, I think about it later, I'm like, man, damn, Okami 2. We're making an Okami sequel. They're bringing out Hideki Kamiya to direct. He's got a new studio that he just reopened and rebranded to Clovers, and they are making the Okami sequel. I knew this was, like, a thing that was being workshopped. Like, he'd actually been shopping this project around a little bit, but Capcom's going forward with it. They've, like, just entered production, so they don't have anything to show, but just the fact that this exists is crazy. And obviously, I will play the absolute shit out of an Okami sequel. I'm there. I've talked about this before. I have bought Okami, like, 4 times. Yeah, no, it's like it's a real good. And like I said, the intro they did was pitch perfect. Like that moment of just all the ink brushing, you're like, man, what's going on? We're playing the drum, and then just the sun disc like flaring to life as the music peaks.
And you're just like, whoa!
And you're just like, huh? What? Okami? What? I literally didn't expect this. And then they ended it with the big slam. This was the one that I think people correctly predicted that we would see what Naughty Dog's cooking, and we did. They are working on a sci-fi game entitled Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. So the reason I think why there's so much brand placement is they have actually got a little bit of info about this. It is set in an alternate future where space travel took off in the 80s, so that's why everything has that kind of deliberate 80s retro vibe. They also said explicitly that their themes and setting were inspired by classic anime like Akira and Cowboy Bebop.
Nope, that makes sense. I've seen people doing some side-by-side shots.
Yeah, no, definitely. You can see the Cowboy Bebop especially, but I think also the like electronics aesthetics. Because like our protagonist has the light up Adidas. They're flying a Porsche spaceship. There's a Sony branded like sound machine they got installed with the fucking compact disc player.
Let me find it. I follow a Twitter called Obsolete Sony. And they actually showed off what that was. Yeah, I do not. I probably should follow them. They have some great tweets, but I do see them in my feed and retweet them occasionally. No, I love I do love Obsolete Sony.
No, they got some real good vibes. But like,
here it is.
And then they had CRT monitors and stuff. Had some banter going back and forth. Got a central character. She's hunting a bounty. Yeah, Megacosmos. I believe, as they explain in this, it was Sony trying to push for premium, basically in-car stereos and sound setups.
Yep,
looking very good. Branded chair. But like no like proper gameplay. But they are promising it's going to be very in depth. But we did get a tease of the action at the end where our protag whips out a beam sword that is shaped like a fucking sound bar and fought a large robot man with glowing red eyes.
And 3 arms. Holy shit.
Yeah. And so they are claiming that is going to be their deepest gameplay and wildest, most creative story yet. I mean, we'll see. We did still see Neil still directing, but,
It's a new IP. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the fucking doubt.
Yeah. Like, Last of Us Part 1, good. And like I said, he was at the helm of the studio when they did Uncharted 4 as well. That game was very solid. They did announce the PC port of the remastered version of Last of Us Part 2 at this as well. That went over as you would expect, but they did end it with a big trailer that it just oozed vibes. They had that selection of synth soundtrack. They said that Trent Reznor and Atticus Rhodes are going to be doing the sound. And that's...
I think apparently it's been in production in secret for like 4 years.
Yeah, they've been cooking. I mean, it makes sense because it has... I think it's been that long since Last of Us Part 2 came out. Like, we've known Naughty Dog has been in the tank, right? Like, they have not been showing us their A game yet. But yeah, if you don't know, Reznor's probably most famous for being, assembling Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize Atticus Rhodes' name, but I don't know what he's done. It's Ross. Cowper Ross. Oh, okay. Like, he was the programmer and producer for Nine Inch Nails. Now they are the only members of the band. Atticus Ross. Okay, so yeah, just they're scoring the soundtrack, but also he's scored some other stuff. Ooh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize this. Atticus Ross scored Shogun, the TV show.
Oh,
Like he was one of the composers and producers on it. Oh, he also, with those same people, composed the soundtrack for Book of Eli. That's a touchback. That game I think had a good score. Many people though probably remember the movie Book of Eli.
Yeah. You said it was a game.
Sorry. the book, not no the movie. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm sick. I'm a little hungry. We've been going for 3.5 hours. I probably need to pack it in before I wax too poetic about this. But the last thing I was going to say, I'm looking at the discography. The thing you probably remember him and Trent working on together as like a score soundtrack is they scored the Social Network, which has that like very famous reorchestration of In the Hall of the Mountain King that a lot of people know. Like that was a very, very famous vibe. But they've worked on a few different things. Worked with some other bands as well. So, like I said, gonna have a good soundtrack. They're gonna pull some story vibes and stuff, and it is a new project, and it will hopefully come out this console generation.
If they've been working on it for 4 years, it has to come out in the next 2 years, probably.
Yeah. I do not believe they did have a date yet, but
no, if they didn't say 2025, then no, it's probably a 2026 game. I'm assuming late 2026.
Yeah, they're still in the tank, but that would be about 6 years of dev, which probably is about correct for what they're going. Especially if they are making sure to emphasize. It sounds like not only are they doing some fun new stuff with story and setting, but also they are revamping their gameplay, which will be interesting to see. Because Naughty Dog does have some very classy gameplay. I do like that they started when they said from the studio. Because we weren't sure it was Naughty Dog's new game when the trailer started. We were all like, man, who is this? They got a lot of brand deals. Is this Naughty Dog? But they end it with, from the studio that brought you Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted. They go through the whole lineup, and they're just like, they've got some chops, but it definitely looks like they're maybe aiming for a more action-y focus on the gameplay in a different way than I think Uncharted did. I'm kind of hoping with the soundbar, beam sword and stuff, I'm like, ooh, are we going to get some fast-paced hack and slash shit? Give me a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of sequence in there. Doesn't have to be like Beat Saber, but get some timing on your hits. Sorry, I'm stretching my legs. I'm done. But those were all the big announcements I've got in a list. There were some other trailers and announcements and stuff. Oh, right, this wasn't in the big list, but they did have a new trailer for Dispatch. That's right. That's another big one.
Yes, that was when Laura Bailey and
Aaron Paul, I think.
Yes, Aaron Paul.
From Breaking Bad and The Wire and other stuff, but it's part where you know from. They both came on stage. They're both in it. They had some very good, funny banter that people liked.
Yes. No, I think the jokes and the Game Awards this year landed more than they missed. I think there was a couple misses. I think there's only one really moment that I would call cringe.
Yeah.
I can't even remember it that well. I just remember I think it was some gamer talk that sounded really bad or something.
Yeah, one of the trailers had some a couple of them had some bad gamer talk. I think the part where I on my bingo card marked joke that didn't land was when they were doing Best Adaptation. They got the person who voice acted Dina in Last of Us Part 2 and the actress who's going to play her in Last of Us Part 2. They did some puns. I think they were deliberately making some really bad jokes, but they did not get a response from anybody in the audience, so they did fall flat. But, okay, they made a few bad puns while they announced, Best Adaptation. That's fine. But, yeah, Dispatch looks pretty good because it's made by basically the refugees from Telltale.
Yeah, no, they specifically called out the Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands, both of which I have beaten, and both I highly recommend, so I am somewhat excited about this.
Yeah, because basically it's a Telltale-style game where our protagonist used to be the superhero Mecha Man, basically Iron Man, but his suit gets blowed up, and it looks like, some big A-lister superhero, basically invites him to do dispatch for, C or D listers, right?
Yeah.
But they got some cool designs. There's the invisible gal who it seems like you're going to have some belligerent tension with. There's the demon-looking chick, basically looks like Karlach from Baldur's Gate 3. They got some funny guys. They got a pretty high-level voice cast, but also they've got content guys in there. Jacksepticeye and Moist Critical are in there. Charlie's actually in the trailer. He's the bat guy who asks about the Twinks. Are you going to eat those Twinks? That's not what they're... Fine, go ahead. Or they show a shot of the dialogue where you can pick one of three options of there's a big bruiser type guy flattened on the hood of a car, and it's is that your car? I don't have a car. That's gonna be a weird insurance claim. Sip coffee. Looking good. Look, it's got the humor. They've got a good art style. I'm interested in that one too. I'm trying to think. Were there Can you think of any trailers or announcements or anything that I'm missifying?
No, they had a few trailers with updates. They had something, but nothing that I would say really stuck in my mind.
And I think that goes to the thing we talked about the show being good is like obviously there were lulls, there were low moments, but none of them really stood out in your brain.
Yeah. Like No, sorry, I'm just thinking about it. Let me see if I can go pull something out. Oh, I know something that I'm slightly excited about that I forgot. Fucking Turok Origins.
Right.
That was announced.
Yeah, somebody said that when we started talking about the Game Awards. Yeah, they announced a new Turok, and all of us were like, what the fuck is this? Is this Turok? Oh shit, it's Turok.
I said it was Turok. I knew. I was like, it's Turok. There's a Native American guy with like there's cybernetics and there's dinosaurs. It's Turoks. Yeah.
Yeah, you called your shot very well. I watched Kind of Funny react to it, and it was great. They had a great moment where like they're literally going back and forth, and literally seconds before they show the Turok logo, one of them's like, I mean, it looks like Turok, but there's no way it's Turok. And then they show Turok, and they're like, holy shit, it is Turok!
Let's see. Other things they announced. They announced Killing Floor 3, Slay the Spire 2. Let's see here. They showed updates for Mecha Break, Power World, Warframe 99, freaking other things. I'm looking through the list here, and like, yeah, they actually announced a lot of things here, and a lot of updates. Like, I think Dave the Diver is either getting a DLC or a new game, Dave the Diver in the Jungle or something. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see here. Screamer, which looks like an interesting racing game, I guess, but it's a racing game. Hunt Showdown 1896. What I think this is with the Post Malone circus one.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. Talked a little bit about the Dying Light the Beast DLC.
Oh, I should mention, I did hear this later. I know why they did the tie-in. Apparently, Post Malone is a huge fan. He said he's played like 1,000 hours of Hunt Showdown.
Well, if he likes it, he likes it.
Yeah, so like good for him to say he likes a game, and then for the game devs to be like, hey, yo, you want to be in it? And he's just like, cool, Post Malone.
Yeah. Black Frost, The Long Dark 2 was announced. That's interesting. I like The Long Dark. I can never beat it. I always die. But I always like the concept of it, so that's cool.
Another
indie game on acid, Catly?
Yeah, which a lot of people are saying looks like it's got some AI generated shit. It probably is. I can't imagine, like, because it got like a fucking tweet shout out, so I'm like, oh, these people paid money to show up. That was not one of Jeff's super secret reveals.
No.
We did get another trailer for, definitely this was previously announced, but Crimson Desert by the Black Desert team.
Yes. The devs of Core Keeper really showed their new game, Cura, which seems to be Terraria 2. Since Terraria will not make it Terraria 2, they keep just releasing final updates over and over again.
Yep.
I'm excited about that. A game that I found really fucking weird, One Move Away, which looks like a fucking moving simulator. Just like, okay, bro.
That was the start of a trend I definitely noticed where we kind of like, we started running, marketing is starting to run cozy into the ground.
Yeah. It looks like we got a football/soccer game. I like to say football because I...
Oh, yeah. That's by the Sifu devs also.
Yeah, Rematch. Which just seems to be like a more simplified soccer game, but with like some interesting arenas and whatnot. It seems more like Rocket League, but football.
Yeah, and they did specifically say they're aiming for more of a like third-person action perspective. Like they as opposed to like a lot of EA and other like soccer sims, which are like way more pulled back. They want this to be like in the action, which I'm like, cool. There's marketing for that.
Yeah, they showed their teaser trailer for Sonic Racing. Mark that off the bingo list. I know that was on some people's bingo list.
Yeah, Sonic Racing Cross World, so like probably gonna have some crossover stuff as well.
Yeah. They did show a new trailer for Mafia: The Old Country, and we're talking. I think they said that we got a release date of summer 2025.
Yes,
I am interested in that. This is why I talk about give me Rockstar games that aren't GTA. This is it.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned earlier that also like that looks very slick because obviously it's an early 1900s Sicily, so like beautiful stuff with the retro fits, the retro cars.
Yeah,
the main character's literally name is Enzo.
Yeah, the Mafia games are on sale right now. I gotta double check. I think you can get like 1 through 3 on sale, but I gotta check if they're the definitive edition. Because I would like to play that. 3 was pretty good for what I heard.
Part of the family, Enzo. You gotta get them. God, it's all about
Oh,
respect.
you reposted it. Never mind. I just saw you reposted Laura Bailey, who reposted or quote tweeted the ad hoc extended trailer.
Yeah, that's why I suddenly remembered Dispatch. I was scrolling Twitter and I saw Laura tweet. I'm like, oh shit, right.
But other than that, no, nothing. There's a few other things here, but nothing that really caught my attention.
I will say, like, some people tried to push back on, like, Jason Schreier and others who, like, were hyping up the show saying that there'd be at least a couple of holy shit announcements. I do kind of agree with some people I've seen commenting on that of, like, if you didn't find 2 things announced at this show you care about, what video games do you like? Like, this was a pretty broad spectrum of announcements. There's fucking Tekken DLC. They announced that, like I said, the Sifu devs announced a soccer game. There's, like, fucking old school horror shit, action horror with Onimusha. You've got VR games about moving. The Overcooked guys are making like a co-op game.
Stage Fright, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, which they described in later press as Overcooked meets Luigi's Mansion. Not sure how that one's gonna go. But hey, good for them.
Yeah.
We've got big budget, AAA action games. They showed some smaller indie titles. Even games that are like relatively affordable. Like you mentioned earlier, Dave the Diver's getting like a sequel or big expansion, which is a great trailer, by the way. Into the Jungle. And you go back and play more Dave the Diver. That was a big late night game for me for a while. It's fun. Yeah, it's good. It's a good game. Not an indie game, but a good ass video game. But like so many good things. Great show. Like I said, great celebration of video games. Great moments they brought out. They're cooking. Oh well, if we don't have anything else to talk about with the awards and the announcements, anything else going on with you, Lucky? You want to bring up here?
So I did purchase Forever Skies. It was on sale 30% off. I bought me a copy. I bought a Mega copy. It was his Christmas gift, so we don't have to worry about that. I am running into a little bit of an error where my machine does not run it the bestest. I actually cannot play the opening movie. It like freezes every time. So I'm a little concerned about that. It might just be unoptimized. Like I said, it was just a big update they just put out. But the game is way different than it was on the PS5 demo. So I think it is probably worth it. It probably just needs some bugs to get ironed out. Having fun with that. As was mentioned before, I have way too many fucking video games to play right now. Aaron was kind enough to give me a Path of Exile 2 early access key. So I've been down to clown on that for a while, enjoying that. I do enjoy these kind of games, but generally I feel like at a certain point they get too much for me, usually because you have to have like specific builds to do specific things, otherwise you don't survive. And Lucky has never been a fan of you need to specifically do this to progress in a game. If a game does not actually allow you to embrace whatever weird, crazy plan you want to do and make it viable, then it's not a game that lets you make your own choices. It's the illusion of choice.
Well, and at least this one, they've got like 5,000 skills or something, so the
yeah,
pool's pretty
like
big.
That. The pool's pretty big, but not every skill can go into everything, and some are better than others. Like, I actually figured this out accidentally, but I have found, like, probably what is probably the best for minion builds right now, which is, like, a specific combination of certain skills, and people are saying, oh, yeah, no, that's what you have to do to progress in this game, and I'm just like, so a big sigh. But, along with that, Warframe, just released their next, big update. 1999 is out. I have already gotten through the quest and done a couple of the story, and it is cool. Eleanor, my beloved. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. But also, Sin Duality, coming out, next month, I believe, like January 24th, something like that. Is also doing their week-long, open beta test, so anyone can get in and try it. And they've unlocked a bit more features than they had before, so I'm like, shit! I want to be in that! Not to mention just the ungodly amount of gacha games that I have on the side here. Right now I have opened up frickin' Girls Frontline 2. I am slightly sad. I did try to go see if I can get my old Girls Frontline account late. But because Twitter is a shit, they disabled their Twitter linking function and...
shit, that means mine's toast too.
Yeah. So
that's a shame.
Yeah. I might go like hunting around, see if I can contact some support and stuff, but... I guess, like I said, I don't exactly know what's gonna happen. Maybe I'll do some, oh, Aaron disagreed. Wait, what did Aaron disagree about?
I assume one of your comments about Path of Exile.
I'm not sure which one, so I can't really say anything.
He can clarify.
But,
actually, also, I mentioned this on a couple of streams, I should say real quick, about Girls Frontline, funnily enough. Girls Frontline was the reason why, briefly, my card was canceled.
Really?
Yeah, it was because I have the PC client, I actually got charged like a 1 cent like overseas transaction fee because I'm like sending money directly to the company overseas. And so my bank was like, they thought it might be a fraudulent charge. And unfortunately, they had because they do not call me or text me ever because I have this setting where they don't do that. They had a really old phone number in their bank, so they just like temporarily put a cancel on my card. Luckily, they were able to just reactivate it after I like figured out what the issue was and got it hashed out, and I'd already updated my address and phone number and stuff to be current. So it's all fixed now. It just caught me off guard in the middle of the week, and I had to reroute some payments and shit.
Yeah, and also, Aaron, I'm going to disagree with your disagreement here because I was trying to run a pure minion necromancer witch right here. Literally did not work until I picked up Summon Raging Spirits from the Elementalist and started slapping fire spells around. Like, you cannot play Witch Minion by itself. You have to pick up other things because you will not do enough DPS doing Skeleton Warriors. You do not do enough DPS with Skeleton Archers. And you'll hit a roadblock before you can start getting into the other ones. You have to basically go all in on Skeleton Arsonists and start picking up wall of fire so that you can enhance their attack. Trust me, I've been, it's like my fucking witch is level 54.
Well, it may just be that,
yeah.
I know you're very focused on, you like minions and summoners. It may just be that is a specific one that has some more suboptimal stuff. I don't know, what Aaron's playtime is either, but I see him also playing the game all the time.
I did not want to multi-class into elements of this to make it work, but I kind of had to because I cannot. The way that a witch has almost no survivability, it's all related on minions, but your minions, once you get over a certain hump, do not have the life to, it's like, yes, I have not played any other build, I will say. All the other ones, Aaron is correct in this, I've only played witch, so, and I take that back, I played a little bit of mercenary, but I don't actually know what I'm doing there, so I can't actually fucking comment. Like, that's the thing, but I've played a lot of witch, and Witch is good until a certain point, then there's a hump, and if you can't get over that hump and it's really hard to get over that hump, which is the problem I had.
And I've not to get too much in the weeds about Path of Exile 2, but I have seen some like internet kerfuffling about like it does seem like some people are having a really good time if they get really good RNG on like specific loot drops and stuff will like really lock in their builds and take them over the hump. And I have heard some other people also saying that like they don't get good drops, so they hit walls, and it's like it's not the randomness isn't quite balanced out so that you can like keep your gameplay going at a perfect pace. Some people are like having rough times, some people are not having rough times. So it's early access.
True.
They gotta balance it out.
It is an early access, and so you got to be fair about those things. But this is actually something because I read about this. Grinding Gear Games, the ones who are developing it, actually had to go back and talk about how some people are having basically dead runs. They do not get good enough items in the beginning to actually carry over some humps. So they've actually been adjusting drop rates to kind of help with this, and making so there's less shitty drops in the early game.
Yeah.
So part of my problem could have been that. Like I said, I don't know because I actually haven't tried making a witch again for minutes. Maybe it's different, but especially in those early times, no. My way of playing was not viable. It could now that I think about it, it could be changed now. It could work now. But like I said, my main character is a level 54 witch who spams wall of fire everywhere and sends flaming skulls at their enemy while I have skeleton firebombing people from range. It's quite fun in its own way. So Path of Exile 2, it is being patched and it is getting its patches and is being updated, so that is good. Like I said, Forever Skies, I'm excited. I do want us to do a series on it. Like I said, I think I talked about this on 14. Yes, I talked about this 14 stream. If we do, even though it is up to 4-man co-op, I probably would just keep it to me and Omega. I was actually thinking about this like yesterday, early today. I am a bit of a control freak, so having people who are operating outside my expectations freaks me out a little bit. I think this was part of the reason of my problem with Sons of the Forest. Sons of the Forest is too, what I want to say, resource heavy, kind of. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to build things in Sons of the Forest too. That is not necessarily a bad thing, but for me personally it is, because I am more likely to spend time collecting resources and building a house than, having shenanigans in the woods with the dudes. And because I would rather do that, other people will get bored and wander off. The only problem is specifically with Loft will not say he is going to board and wander off. He's just going to wander off, and then when he's 2 miles away, it's like, yeah, guys, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm all like, Loft! I throw something at him.
Yeah, we throw rocks at him. But yeah, it was definitely, I know you've done a lot, and I don't, hey, people at home, if you are interested in seeing something, whatever Lucky has with Sons of the Forest footage, I guess let us know, but it's another case where you got into the weeds on the project and you do not think the end result's going to be what you want it to be.
No, unfortunately not. Like I said, I was talking about, during our 14th, I was talking about our problem. Axe likes to talk. Axe likes to talk about future knowledge he has and current knowledge he has, which, in my personal opinion, kind of ruins the game feel. It does not give you that feeling that these people are playing genuine. It feels like you're playing with the experience that you're playing with a guide open, which I don't know how many people actually want. I'm going to be serious.
I think it depends on the audience. Some people like gamers to know what they're doing, but also other people, hopefully not the same people, but audiences can be contradictory, like to see it more of like the raw, genuine experience, the completely unfettered.
Me personally, I tend to be more a fan of the genuine experience.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of I wanted to emulate. Like I said, Omega, honestly, I think I talked about this, watching thing. Had no problem with Omega. He didn't wander off. He helped with whatever projects and was generally... You didn't actually know anything about the game, so most of your reactions were just genuine. My problem, very specifically, was I like crafting too much. Most of the footage is me putting down logs, picking up rocks, putting down logs, picking up rocks, putting down rocks, picking up rocks, and I was like, this is not entertaining. I tried to shortcut it by just making it go speedily, but then I ran into the problem of that sometimes you guys would be having a conversation, and it would get cut off because of the log placement stuff, and it was just...
And I do think from footage I've seen of Forest and Sons of the Forest is usually editors do cut around a decent chunk of the building. Sometimes they don't, and I mentioned this before. The original Forest game had a lot more of the kind of blueprints you put on the ground kind of a thing, where you'll see the ghostly images of what you need to put in. Sons of the Forest seems like it has a lot more free build options where you just go cut the log this way and put this log to make a bench, a door. And it's that's cool, but also for multiplayer, it makes it harder for other people to contribute. Lucky had to place all of the palisades for our fort by hand.
Yeah, it took me a minute.
As opposed to, the way, and maybe you can do it in Sons, and I just don't know, but the way original Forest definitely worked is you would draw the ghostly outline of the wall along one side, and then everybody would just run up with logs and put them in. It would slowly fill in the back plant, and it's a case where I think the original game would be much more focused, but also I don't know how much it was set up for multiplayer. I think they added that way later, and it wasn't necessarily balanced for it. Yeah. But yeah, honestly, I like open world survival crafter games, and people can know that I don't mind getting in depth on building bases. But also, I know how Lucky likes to play. I am perfectly willing to take a hands off and be listen, you build the airship or the sub base or whatever how you want to build. I just need to be able to, figure out where the hell I put my shit and where, the water purifier is so I don't die. I'm good. So yeah, we will hopefully be able to clock some Forever Skies time. I have it installed, but have not booted it up yet because, like I said, I've been dealing with a lot of bullshit this week, and now I'm feeling a little ill, so I haven't gotten into it. And also, I have bajillion games to play. My fucking copy of System Shock arrived, the System Shock remake. Helldivers 2 has a huge update that I'm well, shit, I should figure this stuff out if I want to get the boys together for that. Marvel Rivals has still dropped, and I have not played nearly as much as other people. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a fucking Duelist Cup going on with lots of gems and rank awards and shit. My number 2 video game... Well, it tied. I had 314 hours in both it and Helldivers 2 on my PlayStation Wrapped when it worked. But, all my seasonal favorites are coming back, and also there's fucking new shit. And I'm still playing Girls Frontline 2. I'm not all the way... I'm at the front of Chapter 6. I'm not all the way through. I did beat Part 2 for the limited time event. Great art CGs in that, by the way. Beautiful shit with Suomi. As Lucky said earlier, we appreciate Suomi in this house. But yeah, so lots of stuff going on. we'll catch up on the stuff and figure our shit out. And we'll get you something. We'll get the people some extra content. Or we'll just have a good time playing Forever Skies. Who knows? Shoot laser at plant. All right. Okay. Anything else, V2, Lucky?
Oh, let's see here. Like I said, playing way too many gacha games, and there's another one on my radar. I think I already talked about it. Ananta, formerly Project Mugen, had a release trailer. Well, not release trailer, announcement trailer. I highly suggest checking it out. Maybe I'll post it for the patrons here. I mean, they've probably seen it already, but it's nice. I like watching it. It's nice. But no, I do think that's actually it. I have too many games to play, not enough time.
All right. Well, I technically lied because we are actually like just shy of 4 hours of recording, but we did have some thinky pauses, and I think the last like half hour or hour long segment while we were bantering about different things, so that'll compact down.
Okay.
But it is almost 2 a.m., so I'm not sure when this one will get out. It has to be at the whims of the uploader machine.
The uploader.
But I'll speedball the edit as fast as I can and get this out there for y'all. Make sure to, support us on Patreon to get stuff early. Like our wonderful patrons, like Adam DeHarp, Blackest OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JDV9000, Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Trevor, Some Guy Named Bob, and Varian the Crow. Thank you very much for your support. Patrons of all levels, but especially our high-level patrons. Haha, I surprised you. I did it at the front of the outro.
Ta-da!
But with that obligation out of the way, I can do the rest of the outro, which goes a little something like this. Like this video on YouTube. Leave your comments. Subscribe. Subscribe again. Get your grandma to subscribe. Actually, honestly, if anybody's grandma does watch our content, I would love to know that, because that always would get a kick. And I know there are some pretty cool grandmas on the internet. But sub, ring the bell, keep your eyes peeled. You can join our Discord as well. Our Discord is open to everybody. It just has a patron-only area that you can access as any level of patron, but most of the server is wide open. We have, 4 voice channels you can hang out in. We probably don't need all 4, but it's fun. And also, you can join our channel memberships, membership badges and emotes, and I said it before, support us on Patreon for audio versions, which are early, get access to videos early, polls, other shit. And we'll be seeing you next week for more videos and streams. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Next one.
Next time on Fate Grand Order Z.